He's terrible and he does all this weird racist shit. That's always my fear. You truly never know.
Okay. We're live?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I got my hat on backwards because I'm a crypto bro.
And we're live here at the
We're doing it together.
There we go. At the Bitcoin Sports Network. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, TJ Miller.
Do you know that I don't think I've worn my hat backwards in like a decade?
Why not?
I don't know. Now I'm feeling it. I get it.
You got a couple brewskis in, you're feeling it in Vegas. You're like, all right, now I'm ready to
You
go.
can see just a tuft of hair, and that's all we really need.
Yeah. I mean, it's to cover.
Like that shirt. Oh, dude, how are you?
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, we are
We'll
live.
see you again. He's orange pilling people left and right. We're live.
Here at the kickoff party here. The legend, TJ Miller. He's the man of the people out here. So, TJ,
I am a man of the people.
how's the Bitcoin community treating you so far?
Well, I love it, and it's so funny. On the way here, I can't wait to talk about this. On the way here, there was another girl sitting next to me, and it was in first class, and I sort of said, "Hey, I'm going to a conference," and she said, "What conference?" And I said, "Bitcoin," and she goes, "Yeah, but which one?" And I go, "What?" And she said, "I know it's a big one, but," I said, no, Bitcoin. And you could see her immediately. She didn't do it, but you could see her roll her eyes inside of her head as sort of a like, what that fucking scam? And then I begin. We all do. We all start to go, well, do you own any Bitcoin? Do you know anything about it? And I begin to slowly, I feel like when you orange pill someone, you don't realize you're doing it until halfway through.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? You think?
100%, yeah.
And, but I'm trying to get better and better at doing it in the least technical way and the most welcoming way. But there was a really interesting moment where she said, well, all these Bitcoiners, what's it like going, because I told her I went to Nashville. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We haven't heard even one thing he said. But it's fun to see what my responses are and figure out what you thought he was saying when he was like, so I said to her, it's a really great community. And I think of it more as a community than, and I know it seems like talking about it, it's kind of a cult, but I think
Yeah.
it's more of a community. And then I stopped and I go, I guess that's what people in a cult would say. She goes, that's exactly what people in a cult would say. But I think it is a community, and what I told her is it's really cool to be in these rooms, in the city, at these panels, in all these places where the thing that everybody laughed at us about, I told somebody the other day, when the bear market and the real crash and down to 20,000, 16,000, my family, who knew that I was into Bitcoin,
Yeah.
not only did they think that I had lost all my money, they also didn't want to talk about it.
Oh, yeah? Why not? Why do you think that?
Because I think they thought I would be embarrassed, or maybe assumed that I sold stuff on the way down, or more likely, they thought it was never going to go back up. And the reason is because they knew nothing about the history. And that leads me to the thing that I talked to a lot of people about in the conference, which is it takes about 50
Yeah.
hours of study to understand Bitcoin. That's not that much if you just do a couple hours a day for a month.
Yeah.
You know? And it's really hard to get people to study after they've graduated from school. And so almost no one in my life is willing to do the research, even just a little bit of research, to understand it. And so they truly believed I had lost all my money in some capacity.
Yeah.
And I think some of them were embarrassed for me. Like, really.
Do you think it's more because people don't want to think about money? Or do you think it's like, maybe the crypto bro kind of stuff?
I just talked to, Crypto Bro a little bit. But I just talked to somebody, and it was really interesting. This guy, Zarin, and he was in really early in 2012. Pretty quickly after I met him, he goes, he's a friend of Ed Julien's who works at MicroStrategy. Pretty quickly after I met him, he's like, yep, I'm the guy that got kidnapped. But he said something that I hadn't really heard, which was he goes, most people don't care about money. And what he meant was, I think, that most people don't care about the value or the nature of money.
Yeah.
They just care about getting enough of it to buy the things that they want. So the nature of money is just not really important. But I actually haven't heard anybody say, do you think it's crypto bro stuff a little bit?
I think it's a little bit like, it gets conflated, right? Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin and crypto, right? So they think about all of these different coins, whatever, and people get overwhelmed. I think
Which
that's
are all,
part
by
of
the
it.
way, are all meme coins.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think it's that, and then I also think like exactly what that guy was saying is like majority of people just don't want to think about money. I want to go to get my 9 to 5, come home, not have to think about it. I don't want to be a hedge fund manager by myself thinking about what stock here, thing or there. I just want to park my money in.
And stocks, people just assume that's actually the only next level they'll go. And a lot of people that own stocks, right, it's in their 401k, their IR, whatever it is. To them, the next level of money is equities. And then some people understand bonds or a mutual fund or something, but that's still to them. They don't really know about it. They just know that if you have enough money, you should buy stock in Apple. And then some people go, well, I got in on Tesla, and I'm going to watch NVIDIA and see when that. But very few of them would ever think, well, I should maybe take a look at strategy, because that's almost a level down from Bitcoin, which is what is so brilliant about Michael Saylor. Shout out.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. And I think the crypto bro thing isn't helping. And then this doesn't have anything to do with us. And it doesn't have anything to do with Bitcoin. But FTX and then Celsius, which was much less publicized, both of those things did nothing to help Bitcoin's image.
Yeah, 100%. And then, too, like Coinbase as well, right? They just got hacked and their customer information
Really?
leaked. Yeah, like literally.
No, because I have $3 in Coinbase.
Yeah, but I mean, like these things happen, right? And so it's the perception of, oh, I go to Coinbase and buy Bitcoin, and then, they just had a big giant breach.
I don't have any Bitcoin, but I just like the culture and the community. But if I did have Bitcoin, I would keep it in Gemini. But I feel safer at Gemini because I just think from the beginning, they've been like, trust is our brand, and they want to really focus on regulation, and they kind of wanted to do the thing. So I feel like Gemini is really, really safe, right? And then I feel like self-custody, which I don't own any Bitcoin, but if I did, I would be really scared of that. And I think Bitcoiners who are truly OG Bitcoiners, but also also are truly OGs, or they're really fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
Self-custody is just as important as owning Bitcoin, and just as important as that. Like, self-custody, I think, is on par with owning Bitcoin, stacking sats, and becoming a whole coiner.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think self-custody is really scary, but it eliminates all the shit with Coinbase and all that stuff. And I think I was really scared of it because people would say, well, what happens if your ledger, right, it's in a safe and you can't get back in the safe? Or there's all those fears. But now with companies like Casa doing multi-sig and a little bit more of that, now my wife and I, are in the conversation of, if we ever get Bitcoin, it would be a multi-sig situation. And she's a maximalist.
Oh, there we go. That's awesome.
She's really, really a fucking maximalist. So she looks at any of my friends who own Ethereum, which we know some twins in Michigan who are Ethereum maxis.
Okay.
She looks at them and she's like, why would you buy Pepsi when you can buy Coke? So to her, Bitcoin is Chanel and Coca-Cola, and the rest of it is just
the off-brand.
It's all off-brand. That's a great way of putting it. Can I steal that and tell her that?
Of course, yeah.
I'm not going to tell her your name because she'll I don't know.
Yeah, we could
She
keep that on
she
the
might
DL.
take you to a Chili's too.
Oh, not an Applebee's though, right?
No,
Just
and not a Chili's.
no,
A Chili's too.
a Chili's too.
TOO. They're hard to
Okay.
find unless you go to an airport.
Yeah. Well, they have one in the Orlando airport that's like an
Love it.
escalator up to heaven.
Ugh,
You know,
I
I mean
love
that's
She loves it.
yeah. There we
Why
go.
go to Chili's when you go to Chili's too? It's the exact opposite.
Exactly. All right, but tell me, how did you get your wife so orange pilled? Did she orange pill you, or was it the other way around? How did it work?
No, I mean, do you feel like you've orange pilled a lot of your friends or the people around you?
So I have tried for a lot of my friends, families outside of the Bitcoin space.
Family, we always do with family.
It
They
didn't. It
don't-
didn't work too well.
It's hard.
The thing that does orange pill them majority of the time is the price. I mean, especially hitting that 100K. I think that was just a big mental barrier for a lot of people. I mean, I have a screenshot for one of my buddies last summer, and he was chirping me because Bitcoin was at 50, 60K, whatever. He's like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's gonna hit 100K this year. Then it did. He bought Bitcoin, and then it went under 100K. He's like, dude, what the hell? I'm like, I told you to do this like a long time
and
ago, you know?
it's so hard when you convince someone finally. I was thinking about this yesterday. I have a friend who's independently wealthy, let's call it, and I paid him in Bitcoin for this like gig that we did together.
Yeah.
And I just know that he hasn't bought any other Bitcoin. And for some people, and this I think happens for almost everyone, you buy Bitcoin at the price that you deserve.
Yeah.
Every single price that you can buy Bitcoin, even people that buy it are like, well, I missed the boat.
Yeah. 100%.
It's never going to get higher than this. And I think 100K did a great job of what you're saying, that mental barrier. But it also, I think, has really had a lot of people go, well, I can never buy it. Because when I told this fucking girl on the plane, when I said to her, hey, you should buy a little bit of Bitcoin. You can buy $5, buy $10. Everybody likes to talk about dollar cost averaging, but I just think buy a little bit here and there. And she didn't get that. She thought you had to buy a whole coin.
Yeah, I think the whole number bias is definitely something, I get that too, where it's like I could buy, I don't know, 1,000 XRP or whatever it is for the price of, then I'm like, it's just not the same. So, I mean, we have to kind of frame it in a different way to make sure that whole number bias doesn't come about. But I think things are changing. It's moving in a different direction. The validity of, the current administration coming in, the strategic reserve, those things.
When the ETF got passed, and Ophelia Branca, who's a good friend of mine and Kate's, when 21 Shares sort of began the ETF process, when those were passed, that just changed the landscape completely. But the institutions were seeing it how retail saw it when they were like, we buy it here, sell it here.
Yeah.
We wait for this, we'll buy a little bit more. They weren't really hodlers, and so I think it's actually going to take a while for BlackRock to go, this needs to be 5% of your portfolio, and you're just going to hold it.
Well, they're
like
saying
Apple
now
stock.
2%. So, I mean, BlackRock is saying that the
I
optimal.
think we're going to get there. But if you're smart, you really should have, Saylor would say you should have 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think you're right. I think the landscape is changing, but I don't know, man. We'll see.
I mean, when you get that 2% too, that's going to turn into 5% pretty quick, and then it's just going to outperform everything else. So I think it's just
really
a matter
is.
of time. Why do you think that, not a lot of, I guess, people in Hollywood, celebrities, that kind of stuff, why do you think it hasn't gone super mainstream just yet?
So I talk about, this is one of the things that I come here to talk about, that and narrative film, television, and how that could help. But I get asked that question from anybody who's kind of doing what you're doing. And I think the reason is that I think it's twofold. Because Pompliano actually asked that question point blank. He was like, what's going on? And I think in Hollywood, you're told to do things a certain way. And if you don't, if you're a maverick, which obviously is kind of a little bit of what I am.
Yeah, there we go.
You're kind of a black sheep. You're kind of told, that's not really how we do things here. And so that mentality infects everything.
Yeah.
It infects your work, obviously, but it affects your choice in roles. It affects what you write. It affects all that. But I'm a stand-up comedian. And so the whole thing is you're being told you have to pave your own way.
Yeah.
So those two things, I think, contribute to it. But I got to say, at the end of the day, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I have told people about it. And even in Silicon Valley, I said to all of those guys, like, look into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, learn about it. And they just all were like, why? So that we can get scammed?
Yeah. Do you think that too many people, like I guess of that status, are used to people coming in with their hands out, asking for things, and, you know, I guess more have their guard up so they're not willing to, I guess, take that step?
I think that's a great point. I really do. But in this case, your hand isn't out.
Yeah,
You're
because
sort of
it's from
actually-
you.
You're pushing this idea, this ideology. You should think about this. And maybe it's like Scientology type stuff has always scared all of us who aren't Scientologists. But I think we need to eliminate the Bitcoin as a cult framework. I think we need to eliminate the idea that you have to buy it at the price that a coin costs. And I think we have to sort of, this is one of the things I'm going to talk about, because like I have a couple things I'm working on. One is a film, another is like a sort of a travel show, another is a series. But take all of that out of it, and just to say, if you make something where implicit in it is Bitcoin is hope,
Yeah.
which is why my wife loves it, because Saudi princesses women are being trapped because the family doesn't want to honor kill them, but they don't want to let them out into public. Those women have no access to money.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
they can be tracked if they escape. If they have Bitcoin, as long as they can get out of there, they have money, and they have a way for people to send them money.
Yeah.
And those people can't be. So if we frame it a little bit more like that, and maybe not as much get rich quick, which obviously, if you know about Bitcoin, there is no quick to it.
Yeah.
You're not, in fact, we don't want to get rich quick. We want to get rich long term, maybe, but it's more like it's about the ideology and kind of believing in it. So I'd like to make that focus, the whole Bitcoin is hope, more at the forefront.
Yeah.
And I think that'll really help.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, one aspect of it for sure. And I think more people are starting to look at, Bitcoin as, I guess, maybe an inflation hedge or a different alternative to gold.
Yeah.
So I think that's another way to frame it. It's just, I think, to be honest, just meeting people where they're at, right? So your wife resonates with the freedom.
Right.
Some people are maybe resonating, I just want to protect
That's
my money.
a really good way of putting it. Just meeting people where they're at and knowing this is the angle that will help you understand and be open to it.
Yeah, and you got to build that trust first, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know in Bitcoin we say don't trust, verify, but in order for me to convince you of something, you have to think that I'm not trying to scam you initially.
Well, and you say trustless, and people go, what? So it's not trustworthy? And you're like, no. So I really feel strongly, just what you said is great. Meet people where they are. And I think Ed Julien, who's really a great friend of mine, has helped. And then MicroStrategy and Sailor has been so instrumental, especially with Kate. But there is a component of it which is even the phrase orange pilling,
Yeah.
it's not helping.
I mean, I hear you, because it's like red pill, black pill, all these things. It's like,
You don't want to tell people they're going to take the drug and then take the trip. You want to say, you can trust this, and we'll talk later about it. It's trustless. And I'm here to tell you, I'm here to meet you
there we go.
where you are to try and help you understand. But the thing I think I'm concerned about is like everybody in here knows that Moody, I was just reading about this the other day, and kind of the U.S. credit rating has gone down
Yeah.
in a way that it never really has before. But only people like us and like institutional investment, TradFi, like all that, they're the only ones paying attention to that. So
Yeah.
when we talk to our family or a friend about it. And the friends, yeah, had this great. Have you had any friends where you say buy Bitcoin and they're like, forget it?
Yeah.
And then Bitcoin goes up and then they're like kind of mad at you because they didn't do it?
Yeah, they're like, why didn't you tell me about this before? And I'm like, I did. You
Yeah,
know?
right. That's a great way of putting it. Look at her. Look at this.
Yeah.
Can somebody put this on camera?
Yeah. But TJ, we've got a big week ahead of us. Before you run out of here, where are we?
He's such a sweet baby.
The legend TJ Miller in the house, man.
Do you have one more question you said?
Yeah. What's the thing you're looking forward to the most this week before
The
you head out of here?
conference?
Yeah.
I think it's already happened.
There we go.
It was this fucking interview.
There we go. I love it. Appreciate it, boss.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
Not the right way, which is
Why? I like it. Why not?
because he looks so cool.
I don't have any hair gel. That's my problem.
Well, it is yours.
Hey, we're the same. We're the same.
All right.
Oh my God, this is the first time you're interviewing me.
All right. Well, are we still live here? All right. Now we're live again with Isabella here, the legend. How's everything going?
Yo, everything's amazing.
Yeah, tell me about
Super
it.
excited to be here. I feel like the conference is probably going to be the biggest one yet.
Yeah.
I do not know how David Bailey manages to outdo himself
Every single year.
every single freaking year. Goddamn.
Yeah, he's crazy.
We got Elvis over here. Like, what is happening?
The vibes are definitely high here. So I know you got a lot going on this week. Tell everybody what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to be doing something different.
Okay.
I do not know how I'm going to be functioning all week, but it's okay, you know. Got to keep the energies high. Every time you're with Bitcoiners, you know, they pass that really good energy. I'm going to be doing a roaming camera. So I'm going
Okay.
to be doing interviews for Bitcoin Backstage that they're going to be live, and I'm going to be going around the whole Bitcoin conference trying to highlight everything that's happening. So I'm going to go to like the art show, the art gallery that they have Ross Ulbricht's jumpsuit.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Really? How
They
much
got-
is that going for
Bro,
right now?
they got ID cards that take you back to like when you were back in elementary school. Remember where you had to go
Yeah.
into like the library and be like, hey, give me some books
Yeah.
and everything. You just have to be here.
Yeah, you definitely have to be here. There's a lot of exciting things going on here, to say the very least. But how about Vegas? What are you thinking about it here? I mean, we've had it in Miami, we've had it in Nashville, but now Vegas, the city that never sleeps.
Literally, I'm going to be like a negative Nancy, and I really don't like Vegas.
What? Why?
Yo, it's like,
Too many flashing lights for Isabella, the star behind the
No.
camera.
I'm not
Are the
I'm
lights
not a
too
Vegas
bright?
girl. I don't know, man. Like, too much.
Yeah.
Too much going on, but we're all here. It is what it is, you know?
I mean, it has to be in the biggest city, you know, to fit and accommodate all of this stuff here. What is something that you're looking forward to the most during this conference week?
That's a good question because I'm looking
chock
for
full of 'em.
multiple things. I'm kind of excited of the people I'm going to interview.
There we go.
I organized them all, so I'm proud of myself.
Can we get a little sneak peek?
Yes.
All right, who's
Okay.
who's the one you're most favorite for? And make
I-
sure to leave a couple people off so they get very upset with you after this.
Okay. I'm most excited to actually interview Paolo from Tether. I've never
Okay.
interviewed him before. Vlad from Robinhood, because I started like investing my money in Robinhood. I feel like many people had their start.
I did too. Yeah.
Exactly. That's where
Yeah.
you start. So that's going to be full circle moment. I'm also very excited to interview. Hopefully these don't fall through because people all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we'll do it. And then, you know, people are busy. I
Yeah.
get it. And obviously Michael Saylor, you
The
know, he's
legend.
always a blast. And Max Kaiser.
I think
He's-
he'll be here soon.
He will?
Yeah.
Oh, good. He's always the best to interview. I don't understand. His mind blows mine because he goes into these rabbit holes and these tangents that you're like, what? I want your brain for a minute. So.
There we go. And then you're doing great stuff with BTC Isla.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that progress and what you got going on down there.
Well, right now we're building a Bitcoin circular economy, and the coolest part is that Bitcoin Sports Network is actually going to come to the island and do a full-on challenge.
Uh-oh.
So, did you used to watch like The Biggest Loser and
Yeah.
all these shows where you have like this house and you do competitions?
100%.
And you're in teams and everything. So that's sort of what we're building over there for the Bitcoin Fit Games, but we're doing it with like workout routines and scavenger hunts. It's going to be insane because we want to highlight obviously like how to create these Bitcoin circular economies. And you know, we've seen Bitcoin Beach, we've seen Motive in Peru, we've seen multiple ones pop up everywhere in the world, and the one that we're doing in BTC Isla, right now it's me and Claudio that are doing it, so having all these people come from different parts of the world to literally help and make the Bitcoin circular economy bigger than it is now, it's going to be interesting. You have to come, huh?
All right.
You have to come.
Potentially. When is it? You have to tell everybody when it is. I got to check the schedule.
October 3rd to the 5th. So you can, this is the point. This is why we made it, because you can bring your family members there. Because most of us Bitcoiners, your family's not orange pilled. And yes, conferences are fun when you're a Bitcoiner. But as an outsider, they're kind of intimidating. So that's why we decided to make it more fun, where people are going to compete. They're going to be like doing everything. The food's amazing. All of it, I'm just like trying to give you guys the picture of what it's like. And all I can picture is the light blue ocean, literally with the white sand and, you know, just lifting some weights and being with the family, getting a nice little tan.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, I'm very an intimidating guy, so when people are trying to talk to me about Bitcoin, I mean, I completely understand. But how many now vendors are accepting Bitcoin on Isla Mujeres?
We have more than 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, look at you.
I know, it's been slow progress. It's a slow grind. We have 18 plus vendors, and that includes, you know, coffee shops, that includes little taco shops, it includes clothing stores, and we have more than 130 properties that you can rent and buy with Bitcoin there.
Wow.
And we have our second graduating class that's going to graduate when I get back to the island. We got a Bitcoin gym. We have now building a Bitcoin cafe that will open August 21st. So
All right, so it'll be open before the games. There we go.
Exactly.
All right, so what's the final goal? If you had everything, is it just to orange pill it fully, or what's the goal by the end of the year, or by the games, say? You've got 18. You got 18 now. Now call your shot. How many do you want?
Honestly, I said, you know what they say, like shoot for the stars so you can land on the moon. That's kind of my vibe.
Yeah.
I'm shooting for 50.
There we go.
It's a lofty goal, but you know, it's hard to do.
No, it definitely is.
Like if you've orange pilled people, not orange pilled, but getting merchants to accept Bitcoin, it's a task on its own.
Hey, 18 is quite a lot, but I think you've got a run here really soon. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find out more about BTC Isla and all of that?
All right, if you want to come to BTC Isla and be part of the Bitcoin Fit Games, go to bitcoinfitgames.com and follow the revolution on our geyser funds to be part of the movement. And also, you've got our Twitter, BTC Isla.
There we go.
Awesome.
Check it all out there.
Thank you.
All right. All right, well, now we've got somebody else who is now coming to the stage. Come on here, good sir. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. You?
I am doing great. What is your name, my friend?
So my name's Andrew from the Smarter Web Company.
Smarter Web Company, awesome. So tell me a little bit about that. What does that entail?
Yeah,
oh,
so,
glasses off now. There we
yeah.
go.
So yeah, we listed on the UK market about a month ago.
Congratulations.
As of today, we're the most successful UK equity on price performance in 2025.
Okay.
Out of the entire market.
All right.
Yeah,
there we go. And the London Stock Exchange?
So in the UK, you've got two markets. You've got
Okay.
the London Stock Exchange and you've got the Aquis Stock Exchange.
Okay.
When I say the most successful UK equity, I'm combining the two.
Oh,
so
wow.
on either market. On Aquis specifically, we trade more than the entire market combined, our stock.
Wow. Okay, so why do you think that that is?
Well, I think people like our approach, what we're doing as a business, and have responded accordingly.
All right, well, let's dive into that. What's the approach to the business, all that kind of stuff that makes it appealing, you think, to investors?
Yeah, so we're supported by the biggest Bitcoin media company in the world, BTC Inc.
Yep.
The host of the Bitcoin conference.
Yep, exactly.
We've got a good business that's been profitable for 15 years.
Yeah.
We've adopted a digital assets, specifically Bitcoin treasury policy that, obviously everyone likes.
Yeah.
And we've done it all transparently, openly, and honestly.
Yeah, so how has that treasury strategy been, right? Because obviously we have, many Americans here have strategy. Bitcoin for Corporations obviously is sponsoring all of this. Great sponsor, by the way. But, with all that, the Bitcoin as a treasury strategy has been absolutely exploding. Obviously it seems like everybody in the UK is paying attention, right? You wouldn't be one of the most traded equities if that wasn't the case, right?
Correct.
So why do you think that more companies just don't see this and start to implement it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So if I take myself, if I go back 4.5 years, roughly, I invested in strategy, right?
Yeah.
After about 2 years of that, I wanted to invest in a UK company doing that as well. I couldn't find one, and I don't know the answer why there wasn't one. I kept looking and looking and looking, and then last year we decided that we would list my business on the stock market to progress a strategy that I believed in, which was exactly what we were doing privately, an operating business with a small digital asset side, and progress everything in the business forward from there.
There we go.
I can't tell you why, we're the pioneer, why there aren't others. There aren't any others in the UK currently that I personally would invest in. I hope that changes. I would love to have some competition from other companies that are doing the strategy in the right way, but it is what it is.
Do you think that the UK, you're here in Vegas, right? You see all the flash, everything that we've got going on here. There seems to be a lot of publicity around Bitcoin in the United States. Is there even close to that amount, do you think, in the UK currently?
Yeah. So we've got a massive Bitcoin community in the UK. Right from the grassroots to lots of people that are very interested in it, in the advisory firms. Whether that's accountants, brokers, lawyers, etc. We've got a really good scene. I think that's evidenced by the fact that you look at our company and the volumes that we've had
1000%.
in a very short space of time. It's been great to see the people getting in touch with me as we've got higher and higher up. When we first started working on the listing, I knew that it was going to, I believed it was going to be successful.
Yeah.
But I'd speak to people and some people wouldn't quite see it, even with everything that was, fully clear before.
Yeah.
But as the volumes have shot up and all the other things, a lot of people have taken notice really, and it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like making waves. And I went out to London last year on the way to the Madeira conference, and there was a big scene out there, and I was pleasantly surprised because you just don't really hear about it too much. Obviously, everybody's in the U.S. bubble over here. But it seems like there, and then now we've got Conor McGregor talking about running for president and doing the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve over there. Do you hold any weight and stuff like that when it has like big giant celebrities? Or do you think that's all kind of some of the fluff and that maybe deters some people?
Well, if you look at Europe as a whole and the UK, alongside that, obviously you've got that's happening in Ireland. In France, you've got the Blockchain Group, a very, very good company, quite a few months ahead of us in the process. I was just talking to somebody that whether or not there's any in Italy, Spain, Germany, for example.
Yeah.
So you've got all these different things that are going on, across, our sort of neck of the woods. maybe we're just slightly behind that trend in the US. You know, if we look at the US, you know, a year ago, 15 months ago, whenever it was, when the ETFs became a thing, you know, Europe isn't quite there yet with these things. So I think it's just a lag, that's all it is.
Yeah, why do you think there's that lag?
Well, I think it's always been like that for everything.
Okay.
So if you look at anything, whether you're talking about music, fashion, food, whatever, the UK, specifically the UK I'm talking about here, you know, often follows behind a little bit. It's just how it is.
Do you think it's just they're tentative of it? Like, what from your conversations when you're trying to orange pill some people, you know, tell them about this funny internet money. What is like some of the big reservations that you see that maybe, you know, some of the American people that are watching this, maybe they have a different experience. So I'm kind of curious.
Well, it's just, it's an adoption thing, right? So if, you know, the reason why I'm so excited right now, and I probably would be less excited 2 years ago, was for us, you know, public companies that have adopted Bitcoin on the balance sheet, you know, the maturity of the asset class is so much further ahead than it was even a year, 2 years ago. And I think that's pretty impressive. So, you know, if we think about where it's going into the future, you know, people ask me for price levels and things, which, you know, I'm not really that fussed about because, you know, I think it's going way, way into the millions and then beyond, you know, almost unstoppable. And that just simply comes down to adoption. If you look at any type of, you know, like my area of expertise company, for example, you know, as the asset becomes more accepted, or the company becomes more accepted, you know, it becomes bigger, you know, providing the company delivers the goods, of course. So I think it's just the usual adoption curve. You could use the same thing on, you know, like the internet, for example, anything really.
Yeah, I mean, I always love to talk about the MicroStrategy flywheel, right? Where they're issuing debt, you know, to buy more Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price goes up, you know, they just kind of keep going through all that stuff. So I think that revolution that Michael Saylor started is about to absolutely explode.
Well, if you look at a company like ours, so for example, last week in the UK, we raised almost £7 million.
Wow.
And we did that from a small number of institutions and some retail investors. So we've made it very open and accessible. And we did it in 4.5 hours as well, right?
Jeez.
So you can see that providing you know what you're doing in a market, we did it at, I think it was 81% higher price than the raise we did the previous week. The previous week we raised £3.45 million. So we raised almost double what we raised a week before at almost double the share price. And you can see it's just, you know, like the time really is now for these sorts of things to, you know, to progress forward.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. That is amazing work. So if I had to get a price action from you, where do you think that this is going here? Because, you know, you mentioned you think it's going to go multiple millions higher. So I'm going to put you on the spot, man. What do you think? I mean, I've had Jeff Booth on the show. He thinks right now in today's dollars terms, Bitcoin's worth $43 million. So do you think that that's out of the realm of possibilities, and you think that just anybody is, you know, like corporations haven't really caught on yet, like, you know, retail's still trying to get up here? Do you think that these $1 million valuations are crazy, or do you think it's coming quick and soon?
I don't think they're crazy at all. As I say, I think it's kind of infinite. I wouldn't really want to put a number on it or on a time scale, but let's say within 5 years, if it's not in the millions, I will be quite surprised.
I love to hear that.
Shorter term, you know, I hear it almost every single year where last year was a good year, this year won't be. I'll be really surprised if Bitcoin doesn't do something significant this year. You know, in my head, I'll be quite surprised if it's not quite a bit higher than where it is today.
Yeah, there we go.
I wouldn't really want to commit.
So what do you take with all of this, like, new institutional adoption and like the new regime that we have in the United States? Taking it as, you know, somebody who's looking at this from a UK perspective, has that, I mean, obviously Bitcoin is always going to win, right? I mean, as Bitcoiners, when we get into this space, that's how we think about these things. But has that played any role with you here going forward, being like, okay, finally an administration in the US has seen this, so now it's time to double, triple, quadruple down?
Well, I think it helps at the end of the day, you know, the fact that your administration is so supportive towards crypto, and indeed one of our very supportive. Shoulders behind us is, key to, the team that helped with that.
Yeah.
I think it's nothing but a positive thing. Going back to the lag that I was talking about with the UK, I think you'll probably see whether it's 6 months or 24 months. That's the sort of range. I think you'll see us slowly catching up with that as well. Of course it's important having the most powerful government in the world being so pro Bitcoin. So it's great to see, really. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. Now, where can people go find out more about your company, figure out what you guys are doing over in the UK?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to find out a bit more about our company, if they just go to www.smarterwebcompany.co.uk, there's an investor relations website there.
There we go.
They can look us up on Twitter, SmarterWebUK. And if they want to reach out, if they've got any questions, just let us know as well.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. So one last question before I let you go. How influential do you think Michael Saylor and his, opening the eyes to millions across the world has been to, what we're seeing here today and what you guys are doing?
I think it's just unbelievable what he's done, to have that foresight and that vision to lead when no one else was doing it, when the asset wasn't anywhere near as mature as it is today. I think it's beyond incredible. And I'm actually talking at an event later alongside him, and very much hope to meet him.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. Well, tell him to come on the podcast, man. Tell him he should be here right now. I'm all kidding, but that's awesome stuff, and thank you so much for joining us, man.
No trouble. Have a good day.
All right, you too. All right. Well, we are ripping and roaring here at the Bitcoin Sports Network event, the Bitcoin Kickoff Party. How we doing, boss?
Good.
I like the hat. He's got the Bitcoin American flag in the background here, man. Tell us what you got going on today. How'd you shoot? Did you play?
I'm a terrible player, so I don't want to embarrass myself.
Well, did you tee it high and let it fly at least, or what?
No, I actually just got here like an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
I haven't gone out yet.
Oh, so you haven't gone out yet. All right.
Yes.
So all right, tell us, what are you shooting today? What do you think?
Well, we have this app called Orange Pill app, and it's about meeting local Bitcoiners, a social network for Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
And we actually one of the sponsors of the golf tournament.
Okay, awesome.
Hole number 4. So I'm going to go and check that hole at least.
Okay, cool. Are you a golf guy yourself, or no, not much?
I golf once in my life.
Only once?
Actually, I tried. I was in Singapore.
Okay. Wow, Singapore, is there good golf out there? I have no idea.
I was just there with a friend, and they said, let's go golfing.
Okay.
And I learned that it's not as easy as it looks.
Oh, it does not look easy to me, man. It's a very difficult sport.
It's not easy. It looks easy, but it's not easy.
Yeah. Okay, but tell us, you're working on the Orange Pill app, right?
Yes.
So how important do you think the Grassroots Movement is to this development of Bitcoin and where everything is going from here?
I might be biased, but
I want you to be biased.
I know. It's very important because, at the end of the day, so in Bitcoin, we love censorship resistant. It's all about censorship resistant. And, if you're online, it's not that censorship resistant as being in person.
Yeah, 100%.
So this is a more censorship resistant relationship. And so that's what we do, right? We create all this relationship in person. And then the other thing is, one thing that I've learned is that the easiest way, if you're new into Bitcoin, the easiest way to learn about Bitcoin is actually at a meetup or when you meet somebody and you can just ask questions.
Yeah.
Because you can't ask questions to a Saylor video.
Yeah, it is.
Or one of your videos,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it is very difficult to do that, right?
It's difficult. So it's actually, it speed up your learning a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously good for the ecosystem. And also it kind of gives you like a feeling that I'm not alone, right? Because when you get into Bitcoin, people think you're crazy. Yeah,
well, it's such a community, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think like that's what a lot of people are really looking for, right? I mean, whether you're into Bitcoin or into golf or into whatever it is, like everybody's looking for that community aspect. And so, what you guys are doing really brings people together and says, hey, you know what? It's not so scary. This magic internet money is actually pretty easy to explain if you just break it down and you don't.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, no, go into the nitty gritty and like all
Right.
the weeds of everything, right? If
Yeah.
you're just kind of trying to make it simplistic and talking about hard money principles, I think people start to relate to that. So, what are some of the cool experiences that you've had building the Orange Pill app, and yeah, like some things that have even blown your mind going through all this?
Well, the story that I tell all the time is about I launched this app November 9, 2022, which, if you remember, was literally like a week after FTX blew up.
Oh wow!
The price is 16,000.
Okay.
I launched,
Perfect timing. Huh?
I actually was, but
Yeah.
it's a long story. But anyway, I launched a Pacific Bitcoin in Los Angeles,
Yep.
and we got like 300 sign up on the first day, which was amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then I go back home, and somebody messaged me and say, "Hey, man, I think you have a scammer on the app." And I'm like, "We just launched. Like, nobody knows about this app."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, there is a guy that pretends to be an NBA player in your app and then invites people to games." I'm like, "Okay, give me the username. Let me find out." So I messaged the guy. So I'm Italian, so I don't know nothing
Yeah.
about NBA, right? I know LeBron and Michael Jordan, nothing.
Yeah.
So I talked to the guy, say, "Hey, I don't want to be rude, but who are you?" Right?
Yeah.
Say, "Oh, you know, I play NBA." So eventually we get on the phone with this guy. So this guy is called Matthew. If you follow basketball, you might know this guy.
Matthew Dellavedova.
Yes.
Shout out Delhi.
Yeah, shout out. So
Come on the podcast, Delhi.
yeah, that would be cool. So what happened is when we launched, he was playing against the Lakers.
Yeah.
And he just happened to be at the conference, downloads the app, it's the Bitcoin Max in the NBA.
Yeah.
And every single game he played across the country, it would, as soon as he landed, he would open the app, see who's nearby, because we had the geolocation piece,
Yeah.
and invite them to the game. Free tickets.
Damn,
courtside.
really?
Yeah.
What the hell, Delhi? I didn't get a message, man. Where did I have to be for
Yeah, I think you were not on the app back then.
this? That was my fault. I wasn't
So,
there.
Yeah, and so people would just, pay $3 to join the app, it costs
Yeah.
$3 a month. And next thing they know, they're invited by an NBA champion. Then I learned about him,
Yeah.
right? And it was such an incredible experience for people. It's like, wow, And so I talked to the guy, I said, "Hey, but why do you do that?" He said, "Listen, if I do that on Twitter or Instagram, he has 100 followers.
Yeah.
How am I gonna get 1,000 DM? I don't know who's who.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're in the town, and I definitely don't know if they're in Bitcoin."
Yeah.
Because he would meet them after the game on court with this,
Damn.
and so that's the coolest story. And then he actually, I owe him a lot. He became our first investor.
Wow.
Yes, so he's a believer in Bitcoin, Orange Pill app, and
Yeah.
but that's the coolest story. I met, personally, through this thing, I went to Sailor House.
Yeah.
I was at the party. You get invited. It's a small world.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you were there.
Where, at Sailor's party?
Yeah.
Nah, man.
No?
Sailor hasn't come on the podcast yet. He
Yeah, yeah.
hasn't done it. I'm not big time enough yet, man.
Yeah,
Maybe I gotta ask him on the Orange Pill
Yeah,
app. Maybe
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the real kicker.
Maybe he has an alt account.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing.
Open invite on the podcast there, though, Sailor.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
hey.
yeah. It's a great guy.
He's gonna hook me up now.
I will.
We're gonna be on we'll interview him on Sailor's yacht. That'll be the kicker.
That's a nice place.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it. But yeah, so go on. So yeah, just great experiences meeting with all these different
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
But then globally too,
Right.
right? I think that's the unique part. So you're Italian, right?
I'm
Is that
Italian, yeah.
correct? All right. So are you in Italy majority of the year or no?
I live in Los Angeles.
Oh, you live in LA.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
then what brought you to the States? And I see you've got the Bitcoin hat with the American flag.
Yes.
Do you consider yourself American right now, but just with a little Italian flair or what?
I'm actually a double agent.
Okay, let's hear it.
I have 2 passports.
Okay, awesome.
So I got this from a guy in Orange Pill app.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I got some. I mean, when we got the fires in LA, you probably heard we
Yeah.
had this- My-
Was everything okay?
So we were very close, like a mile away.
Wow.
So we had to evacuate, and I ended up staying at an Orange Pill app member's house.
Well, there you go. Wow. So this has been. So you've been using your app.
Oh,
to,
every day, yeah.
Yeah.
You can
every
say I'm
day.
addicted to my app.
Yeah. Well, hey,
You know.
I would hope so,
Yeah,
right?
I use it a lot. But
Yeah.
so, yeah, so this hat I got it from an Orange Club members that said, I love your app.
Yeah.
Please pick a hat. I'm gonna ship it to you. And this is it's the most beautiful hat I've ever seen.
There we go. I love it too. That's
Yeah.
awesome stuff, man. That was one of the first things I noticed here. All right,
Thank
so
you.
now with you guys, obviously we've got Vegas here, a bunch of Bitcoiners here.
Right.
What is one thing that you're looking forward to within this week? Outside of this great event here that we've got going on.
Exactly. So, we actually have our own party.
Yeah? Okay. Tell us about that. When is it?
It's Wednesday night,
Wednesday night.
like every other parties.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But if you're an Orange Club members, you are free to come. There's no cost to get in.
Okay.
And you got free drinks.
Oh, there we go.
So we have a lot of people in this list.
Yeah.
So we had that party. I mean, I'm excited to meet new Bitcoiners that I haven't met before. I
Yeah.
don't think we ever met in life.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
So-
and it's, I don't even listen to the speakers.
Yeah, I mean, that's
It's-
true.
it's-
Honestly, I think the unique aspect of these events is that there's so many people, right? So I think the networking, just hanging out with all these people,
Exactly.
meeting us here, I think we've connected digitally,
Yep.
but never met in person. So all these different events like this, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
Now I got
that's-
an Italian friend. I'm coming to LA for some good pasta. man.
Please, come anytime.
There we go. And I'll connect through the Orange Pill app. So then on top of that, right, with these conferences, do you see like a bunch of people connecting on that? Do you hear a
Yeah.
lot of great stories? Can you highlight one of them? Maybe not to dox too many people, but is there another one outside of the NBA events? Because
Oh, yeah. So, actually, Julian Figueroa.
Yeah.
Maybe you know him.
Yeah.
He makes documentary.
Yep. Shout out Kinetic Finance.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's called Get Base now.
Yeah.
Get Base
Yeah.
TV. In any case, he made a documentary about Orange Club,
Yeah.
which is called "Is Bitcoin Just a Cult?"
Okay.
on YouTube. Anyway, and he said, okay, we're gonna do this documentary. I'm gonna go to like big cities, and I'm gonna use Orange Club to meet Bitcoiners and see
Yeah.
what happens. I'm gonna make a documentary.
Yeah.
He went to New York, and he went pub key, great. Then his flight got canceled.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And he had nowhere to stay
Yeah.
in New York. The hotel price went like skyrocketing high.
Yeah.
And he went on the app and said, hey guys, there's a group chat from New York. If anybody have a spare couch for me and my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And he met a woman on the app.
Yeah.
The woman just signed up the day before.
Oh my God.
And next thing she knows,
She's bringing in a refugee.
she's
My
bringing,
goodness.
and that's all on camera.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's amazing, so one thing that is very interesting is that in Bitcoin we say, don't trust, verify.
Yeah. 100%.
But then, when it comes to Bitcoiners, we are more, what's up, Ed? Oh, that's Orange Pill.
Oh, there we go. He's using it.
So when it comes to Bitcoiners,
Yeah.
we're more like, I don't want to say trust, don't verify, but there is a lot of trust because we've been filtered.
I think it's because another reason, right, is like you already know where kind of somebody's like a little bit about their morals, like where they're at
Right.
a little bit, right? You know, like if you're a Bitcoiner, I feel like I
Yeah.
already have something in common with you,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So I think that's what helps a lot too, is like,
Yeah, and,
that
and that's what
aspect of it.
creates this amazing experience and this amazing relationship.
Yeah.
Like somebody got married.
Yeah.
They didn't invite me,
Oh.
but that's okay. The next one, I
We're
think,
holding it against you, whoever you are.
yeah, only I know actually, but that's
Yeah.
okay. But there is another wedding on the making, I think.
Okay, uh-oh.
People in LA, but I know both of them, so I'll go to their wedding. So anyway, the point being, it's a filter, because our time is limited.
Yeah.
And we want more friends, or actually we want more high quality friends, right?
Yeah.
But how do you
100%.
find them? Maybe you go to church, or maybe you
Yeah.
go, and I think Bitcoin is such a great filter,
Yeah.
because if I know you've been in Bitcoin, and I know you actually like Bitcoin Maxi, like no shit coins,
Yeah.
it's like, this is my guy,
Yeah.
right? And so on there, we can build
Yeah.
you know, companies or wedding, whatever. So that's the magic piece.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That's awesome stuff. So, outside of just the Orange Pill app, where can they find you here this week? Should they just reach out to you on the Orange Pill
Yeah,
app?
I have
All
so
right.
many messages about.
There we go. Well,
Tonight at midnight when I'm in bed, I'm gonna
Yeah,
reply
there we
to
go.
everybody. Yes.
Well, awesome stuff. Well, Mateo, right?
Yes.
Yes, Mateo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Check
you.
out the Orange Pill app. Everybody go join the party on Wednesday night. Go
Yes.
take all his free drinks.
Please.
And then there we go. Let's get some more weddings from this Orange Pill app.
The more the
Make
better.
more Bitcoiner babies. There we
Yes,
go, right?
yes.
There we go. Awesome stuff.
Thank
man.
you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Ciao.
All right, now we've got the legend coming up from Bitcoin for Corporations, the lead sponsor of this. We got George in the house. George, how are we doing, man?
Good, man. How are
Good
you?
to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, man. Awesome stuff. So tell me, you got the beer in hand already. You're ready
we're
to go.
partying, yeah.
How is this kickoff party treating you so far?
So far, so good. I mean, it's a great crowd, a lot of energy. People fired up for the conference, and starting to see some golfers come off the course. So
Yeah.
having a good time.
How's your golf game?
Oh man, it is not good enough to play at this event, but you know, it's a little bit top golf here and there.
You can dabble, like tee
Yeah,
it high, let
yeah.
it fly a little bit, but you're
Exactly.
just more about the John Daly's on the
That's
course,
right,
right?
that's right.
You're more there for the fun times,
Absolutely,
right? There we go. You're
yeah.
a vibes guy on the course. I like that, dude. I like that.
Yeah,
So
man.
we've got a huge week ahead of us.
We
You're
do.
obviously with Bitcoin for Corporations.
Yes.
The revolution that we've seen within, when did you guys even start? I feel like just like a couple months ago.
Yeah, well, we launched last year in Nashville, so
Okay.
it's only been
There
about
we go.
10
Like
months.
yeah.
So, but yeah, the momentum has been crazy. I mean, I think corporate adoption is the key kind of narrative of this cycle,
Yeah.
and a lot of excitement, a lot of FOMO, frankly. But I think everyone's just kind of seen what Sailor has done and wants to replicate it. Seen what MetaPlanet has done, and now there's 20 companies in our network, and a lot more sort of in the pipeline. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a crazy 10 months.
My God, it feels like 3 years at least. Like, I mean, 10 months, so much has happened with
Yeah.
all that, but it seems like everything is just accelerating. Every
Yeah.
time I see like you guys tweeting out, there's another company coming online.
Yeah.
And obviously there's rumblings coming on here with all the big conference. There's gonna be some announcements, I'm
Yeah.
sure, here.
Yeah.
But without spoiling anything just yet, how many corporations do you think, like, within this year are gonna come on, like in the next 10 months?
Yeah, I mean, I think things could get pretty crazy. Like, obviously, the price of Bitcoin has a lot to do with how much momentum continues. But I mean, I'm very bullish. I would love to see our network reach 50
Okay.
companies by the end of the year. We started out with a goal of 100, and so we're well on our way to get 100. But yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if that number was like
Accelerates.
doubled.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised either, to be
Yeah.
honest, at this pace.
Right.
How big of a mental barrier do you think hitting that 100K mark was? Or do you think it was maybe, the FASB ruling or Trump getting elected? What do you think was kind of like a bigger role with how we've seen, as the conversations you're having with all these different corporations?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's mostly seeing the success of the predecessors, seeing Sailor, seeing
Yeah.
Simon at MetaPlanet. That's really what's been the major catalyst. Everyone's like, why wouldn't I do this? This seems simple enough. It's definitely not easy. I mean, it's a lot of
Yeah.
work, and I do kind of want to express some caution of not everyone can do this. There
Yeah.
has to be execution behind it's not just all kind of marketing and narrative. You actually have to
100%,
do
yeah.
the work. You have to raise the capital. You have to buy the Bitcoin. And there's a lot of steps involved that I think people are kind of underrating a little bit. But certainly 100K was a big barrier. Trump getting elected, huge momentum, huge catalyst. I think what's interesting about this cycle is that feels like retail's not even here yet.
Yeah. I
just-
mean,
so-
if you've seen, I think River posted a great, what is it, like a study or something like that around that. And if you look at the way Bitcoin has changed its hands, retail,
Yeah.
it almost looks like they're dumping.
I know, and it's kind of the saddest part of the cycle a little bit. It makes me a little bit sad, to see retail kind of having lettuce stands like that and selling
Yeah.
all their Bitcoin to Sailor. But I think people have to sell from time to time, and it is what it is. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens if retail shows up.
Yeah. I mean, I think then when retail shows up, all bets are off, and who knows when that will be. But with this, right, you're having a bunch of corporations. We had 21 launch. We have Nakamoto launch. How I guess motivation or influential do you think those two launches are? Because I think it was 21 had the biggest raise ever to buy Bitcoin,
$3 billion, I think.
and then like a couple months later it was Nakamoto who was
Yep.
beating that.
Yeah.
So how big do you think these players are in what you're seeing here?
Yeah, I mean, massive. I mean, 710 million for Nakamoto, 3 billion for 21. Announcement this morning, I don't know if you saw it, Trump Media Group announced they're raising 3 billion.
There we go. I mean, another one. I
yeah.
mean, that's going to be huge as well.
Yeah. So the dominoes keep falling. I mean, really, I think for me, I'm waiting to see what company that, normies, so to speak, know about. A company that you've heard of that adopts a Bitcoin treasury. A company that has, a shit ton of cash that they're just sitting on, that's melting, that they finally get it. And so, maybe we'll hear from a company like that this week. I don't know. But it's going to happen. I mean, one of the big seven or even a Fortune 500 company getting in the mix, I think, is really going to tip the scales.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about GameStop. If you can peek under the hood, if you've had any conversation with Ryan Cohen, because it's, from what all accounts, I've heard that they rose, like maybe 1.3 billion, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And that was like 6 times the amount of MicroStrategy at the time when they first bought Bitcoin, way back when, right? 4 or 5 years ago now. It seems like ages ago.
Right.
So, but since that time, I don't think we've really heard too much. It's been kind of all quiet on the Western Front with them.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So I have not talked to Ryan Cohen personally, not yet. One of my goals for sure. But yeah, I think a lot of people are just kind of waiting to see. They made the announcement. They changed their treasury policy. So they have the green light. They have the capital. Even before the raise, they have the capital.
Yeah.
And so everyone's just kind of waiting to see when they're going to make their move. And so I am too. I would love to kind of get them involved. So Ryan, if you're watching, we'd love to get you involved.
He's a big fan of the show. I know he's definitely watching this right now.
Yeah, we'd love to get you involved in Bitcoin for corporations. But yeah, I mean, a company like that, I think, would make a big splash. They kind of already did, but everyone's still kind of on the edge of their seat, waiting to see when they're going to make their move.
Yeah, so with that though, right? I mean, it was the GameStop craze a few years ago, right? It was kind of lunacy. So, all bets were off with the GameStop stock. So do you think that, that is almost like, all right, well, people are looking at GameStop raising as like, oh, well, that's just GameStop? Or do you think that it adds a lot of validity because it's just another player coming in? Like, how do you think the, I guess, perception is of that?
No, that's a good question. So I was in Japan a couple months ago for MetaPlanet's AGM.
Yeah.
And got to meet a lot of their shareholders and had really good conversations. One of the things that was kind of the most striking was talking to a couple people actually who told me that they got into Bitcoin because of MetaPlanet. So they were sort of early shareholders of MetaPlanet. But then the more they kind of dug in, the more they saw the performance of the stock, the more they were like, oh, I should kind of figure out what this whole Bitcoin thing is, right? And so I think the same thing is going to happen with GameStop. Is you have a lot of very passionate shareholder base that really went through it a couple years ago with the short squeeze and everything. And I think they're going to follow in the lead of the company in terms of what they do next and how the performance of the stock follows. And what they're going to start digging into is the underlying asset. Like, why is Bitcoin creating so much shareholder value just from a company holding it on their balance sheet? So I'm excited for that because I think that's an underrated part of what's happening is that corporations are actively orange pilling their shareholders.
Yeah, so do you think that that's going to be the revolution as well? Like, I mean, obviously we're having corporations putting it on the balance sheet. Yeah. I mean, like, you guys are seeing it 50 to 100 maybe this year, who knows? But also, like, do you think going to be a big driver as like retail bringing in? Because we already mentioned, like, we haven't even seen retail yet. Do you think that's going to help bring that retail FOMO in almost?
I hope so. Like, I hope that these corporations, I hope part of the work that we do is helping educate retail that absolutely you should get involved and you should also hold spot Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So you're seeing some of that messaging, depending on the company. So I think it's going to be a huge catalyst.
Okay, so then how big do you think so obviously Trump and his media group just announced that they're going to raise money to buy Bitcoin, but this new administration coming in, right? I mean, we talked about it 10 months ago, seems like ages ago, but Trump was at this very conference 10 months ago.
Yep.
Now we have the sitting vice president coming here as well, J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
How big of an influence do you think that is playing on just the overall, I guess, vibe shift in Bitcoin in general?
I mean, I think it's massive from a couple different standpoints. One, companies feeling more comfortable, because listen, this is a nascent technology, nascent industry. There's a lot of rules that are unwritten, that are undefined. And I think before you had regulatory clarity, or you had an understanding that the administration was at least friendly to Bitcoin, there was hesitation to do certain things as a founder or an entrepreneur. I think that's gone away.
Yeah.
So that's just huge. The other thing is, the rest of the world follows the U.S. in a lot of ways. And so I think between the administration's kind of posture towards Bitcoin, as well as the strategic Bitcoin reserve and kind of the progress we've made on that front, that's going to create nation state FOMO. And so I think those are the two main drivers of this cycle, is corporate adoption and nation state adoption. And so the cat's out of the bag. I think that the race is on. Now I think, the game theory that Bitcoiners have been talking about for so many years is playing out in real time, and we're kind of like trying to figure out, where it goes from here. Because there's tactics and there's strategy to like how much you disclose. Obviously, corporations have to do more work to disclose ahead of time. Nation states, they don't have an SEC, right?
Yeah.
So for all we
100%.
know, there's more nation states stacking than have disclosed.
Oh.
So yeah,
Do you think that's the case?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because if you're a sovereign wealth fund, or if you're in charge of a lot of capital, and you actually understand Bitcoin,
Yeah.
you have to really think about how much of this am I going to tell people versus how much of this am I going to just quietly accumulate and then make a big splash in 6 months or whatever. So I absolutely think they're stacking. I think they're probably mining. And I think they're just kind of waiting for the right time to tell people.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Do you think it's possible for the U.S. to do that, though?
In terms of stacking without telling people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Because I feel like, Trump likes his credit and everything like that,
Yeah.
but he also, he's a smart businessman, so
Right.
I could see both sides of the argument.
yeah,
I just think that the U.S., we have so much bureaucracy, red tape, and all of that to kind of do that, where, we've had Senator Cynthia Lummis banging the drum at this very conference
Yep.
for years now,
Yeah.
right? And then now we have Michael Saylor saying, hey, the U.S. should buy 5 million Bitcoin.
right.
So, but if the U.S. were to announce that, do the Senator Cynthia Lummis plan, it would be ignorant to think that people are not going to try to front run the U.S.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like, to me, I don't know. Maybe we are. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have the advantage of also being able to print money.
Yeah.
Eh.
We could be the only nation. We're the only nation that could print money to buy Bitcoin.
So I think if you did that, you'd probably have to do it kind of quietly.
Yeah.
You can also mine pretty quietly, right? Like
Yeah.
without raising too many. Obviously, you can see kind of when major hash rate comes online. But I think if I'm the U.S. and I understand Bitcoin, it's like you said, you don't want people to front run you. So you're probably finding ways, little pockets here and there, to accumulate without having to disclose. Until it becomes kind of this mainstream thing where the strategic reserve bill passes and now Congress has actually allocated money to purchase Bitcoin. Then the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
So, but I have a feeling that some of this price run up that we've seen has been kind of quiet accumulation by major players.
Okay, well, the flip side of it is always like everybody looks at the global M2 money supply, right?
Right.
So we've got Lawrence Lepard over there selling his book, The Big Print.
Yep.
We all know it's coming.
Right.
So if and when, I guess more when, we lower the interest rates and we see that price start to run up even more, how much do you think your phone is going to start ringing and being like, how do we do this damn Bitcoin thing?
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, first of all, my phone's already just like kind of blowing up off the hook. I mean, I think the FOMO is already here, like especially for corporate adoption. I think the race is on. People understand that, like, look, there's a couple different ways to do this. You can either IPO,
Yeah.
you can do like a reverse merger, SPAC type of situation. Either route takes time, right? In the U.S.
Yeah.
In the U.S. at least. Or if you already are a public company, obviously that's the quickest route. If you're already a public company and you just like get it and you pivot your entire strategy, you orange pill your board. But the writing is on the wall. So if you're like, I want to do this, but it's going to take 6 to 12 months or more, I need to start now. That's, I think, the period that we're in. It's like people getting their ducks in a row so that they can do this, in the next year.
Yeah. Oh, so you think the next year is going to be the most vital, I guess, section here, or what are your, I guess, timeline expectations?
I mean, I think there's probably more companies kind of getting ready to do this on paper in terms of, like, again, whether it's they're going to IPO or they're going to pivot their entire current public company strategy, or they're going to acquire a company and do a reverse merger. I mean, I think there's probably tens, not 100+ companies just in the U.S. talking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you be at this point? It's kind of there's kind of been this tipping point where it used to be career suicide for like a CFO or a financial controller to be like, hey, we should talk about Bitcoin. That was like, get this guy out of here. Who is, you know what I mean? Now, it's the opposite. Now it's you have career risk if you don't talk about this, because in 2 years, your shareholders and your board are going to be looking at you like, why didn't you tell us about Bitcoin when all these companies were doing it? The writing was on the wall. It's all public. We could have front run GameStop.
Yeah.
We could have front run all these companies that are doing it. And so we're in this weird period right now where if you're in that position to make that move and you're not talking about it, like, you're going to regret that in a couple years.
How much do you think Microsoft is going to regret that 99.5% vote of emphatically saying no? Get this funny internet money out of here,
bro. They have no excuses. I mean, they had Saylor at their board meeting give a presentation,
and they like had him run it through pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
It was like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or something like that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if you don't get it after Saylor comes to your board meeting, like I mean, at least they invited him. I guess that's something for a major company like that. I mean,
why do you think it was so far no?
I mean, I just think if you kind of go outside of our bubble, the Bitcoin kind of bubble, no one's talking about this. It's kind of surprising.
Is it because the Bitcoiners aren't holding Microsoft stock? It's just not. Do you think that's a reason, or do you think it's people are holding Microsoft because they just want to protect their wealth and they think, S&P 500, let's Mag 7, slow and steady, that kind of stuff. Like, why was it so much no?
Yeah.
That's what's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Like, it wasn't even like 5 people or 10 people that were like, hey, this seems like a good idea. You've had success. Look at these charts that you're showing us. Yeah, I mean, I still think Bitcoin outside of our bubble is still kind of in this, it's looked at as this fringe technology that still has to prove itself. I mean, I honestly thought that once we hit 100K, people would get it. They'd be like, all right, this is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's been 13 years, but that didn't happen. And so I'm starting to wonder if it's always going to be like that to a certain extent, if it's going to be we talk about gradually, then suddenly, and maybe there'll be an element of that. But I'm wondering if the gradually phase is going to sort of continue for a little while longer. And it's just going to be like some people get it, and then some more people get it. But, not like Microsoft, Apple, Netflix overnight type of a thing.
Yeah.
But then again, the other major catalyst that's kind of hanging out there is kind of the big print. Is like, your dollars just kind of being increasingly worthless and not being harder and harder to ignore.
So I've been asking this question to a lot of my podcast guests, but you are in an interesting position where you might know a little something about this. I think that Meta is going to be that one Mag 7 because Michael Saylor had as much voting rights as Mark Zuckerberg does now.
Yep.
And he's got the two goats, Bitcoin and Maxi.
That's right.
He's going the chain pop, the new haircut, the whole nine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if you know anything, but do you see that as a potential possibility, even with like what we were just kind of prefacing before with Microsoft just going, hell no, get this thing out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely one of the best positioned, probably the best positioned in the Mag 7. Look, so part of our mission at Bitcoin for Corporations, so we're accelerating corporate Bitcoin adoption. And we do that by enrolling new companies who are already running the playbook, companies who have a Bitcoin treasury strategy. But the other part of our mission is to actively sort of orange pill companies that aren't here yet.
Yeah.
And Meta's definitely on our radar. It's a company that we would love to talk to. We have a couple contacts that are, they're not Zuckerberg, but hopefully we can, get closer and closer to the decision-making authority, because, like you said, he can almost unilaterally do it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But I think there's a certain tact to it, right? Like, you can't just force it through. The way that Saylor did it was very brought his board along and convinced them that it was a good idea, even though he had the right and the power to do it unilaterally. And so I think Zuckerberg needs to follow a similar type of approach, where it's like, look, I can do this one way or the other, so you can either kind of get on board or not.
Yeah.
I imagine some of those conversations are already happening. What I also think is interesting is, Facebook, Meta, they kind of got their hand slapped pretty hard. 5 years ago when they tried to do Libra?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this. And so I think that probably left a bad taste in their mouth.
Okay.
The more I travel the world, the more I realize that the sort of Bitcoin versus crypto narrative is still very prevalent.
Yeah.
I think it's well understood among U.S. Sort of crypto community that there's a clear divide. Not divide in like the community, but like there's a clear difference between what Bitcoin is doing versus everything else. And I don't know that that's well understood in the boardroom of Meta.
Yeah.
I think the boardroom of Meta is like, oh, you're talking about Bitcoin? I remember Libra. We're not doing that again. Like that was a disaster because it was. It was a nightmare. Like they basically got told like, you're not going to compete with the U.S. government and create your own coin with the network effects that you have. Instantly turning on payments for your billions of users.
Yeah.
And so I think there's probably a little bit of reluctance just kind of based on that.
Yeah. All right, well that's fair, and I think they're launching like something stablecoin related or looking into it. I think there's like rumblings with it right
Again?
now. Yeah.
I mean,
they're doing something else.
All right, I hadn't heard that.
I mean, yeah, that's what I remember because I'm looking into it because obviously like this is one company that I'm like, this is what I'm putting my flag down. This is where I think the Mag 7's going, because I mean like I think Apple, if they start to integrate it, they might want to integrate the payment side of it, right? Because we got the Apple Pay.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that could change the game in some way, shape, or form. But, I mean, there's a lot of, like, I don't know. I mean, like, Tim Cook allegedly owns Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that could change here. But, obviously, we've got this huge conference, a lot of potential people talking, a lot of potential announcements. What's one thing that you're looking forward to in this week that we got coming up here?
Man, there's so much. It is a packed week. I mean, usually there's several side events and after parties and things to attend. This year, we probably have more than ever.
Yeah.
So, the after parties are definitely something to look forward to. Tomorrow at Industry Day, we're hosting a symposium at the Enterprise stage from 10 to 3. So I'm really looking forward to that. We put a lot of work into kind of making sure that the run of show and the speaker lineup is excellent. So, that's probably going to be my highlight. But I brought my family this year, so I'm excited for them to see it, and it's just going to be a great week. I'm really looking forward to it. Vegas adds something very unique, I think, to the dynamic. So it's going to be fun.
That's awesome stuff. Well, where can more people find out about what you guys are doing over at Bitcoin for Corporations? And more about you, George.
Yeah, definitely. So bitcoinforcorporations.com, you can find us. We're also on Twitter, Bitcoin for Corps. So we're constantly putting out new information and kind of, I think it's the front lines of corporate adoption. So definitely check us out.
It's a great Twitter account. I use it a lot, and when I'm talking about corporate adoption in my live streams and stuff like that. Definitely recommend that follow.
Thank you. Yeah, shout out to Nick Ward on our team, who does a great job of kind of running that handle and puts out, really high quality content. I'm also on Twitter at @GMcHale, and come find me. Come find me at the conference. We'd love to say hi.
Go bug them. Go bug them.
Definitely.
Yeah, George, you're doing great
Awesome.
work, man.
Thank you,
I really
sir.
appreciate your time.
Brandon. Appreciate you.
All right, we are ripping and roaring here at the Bitcoin Sports Network opening kickoff party. And then I think we're going to do a little bit of a commercial break here right now. And then we'll keep it going here. So we will be back in about 3 to 5 minutes. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Be prepared. We're still ripping and roaring here at the opening kickoff party.
Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day, where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're gonna experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're gonna be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing, I can't wait. Awesome, see you in BTC Isla. Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day, where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're gonna experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're gonna be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing, I can't wait. Awesome, see you in BTC Isla. Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day, where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're going to experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're going to be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing. I can't wait. Awesome. See you in BTC Isla.
Adil? With a D? Okay. Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right, let me know when we're live and we'll rip it. All right, the long-awaited return, ladies and gentlemen. We are back and live here at the Bitcoin Sports Network. Now we got Adil in the house. So how's everything going, man? How are you enjoying this?
Fantastic, fantastic. We're here again trying to give away a Bitcoin. We tried all morning. Unfortunately, we failed again. Nobody got a hole in one.
Nobody got a hole in one. What are we doing out here? Come on, folks. We need some golfers in the Bitcoin community. But regardless, Bitcoin and golf and business, for that matter, have been intertwining forever. So why are we just getting these tournaments now, man? What's taking us so long?
It took all of this time for the Bitcoin Sports Network to start up. It took us at Samara a while to figure out that Bitcoin and golf are two partners that we should be involved in. And then there was the fantastic event at Nashville, then an amazing event at Max and Stacy's in El Salvador. And I think this is the third event here at Bitcoin. I think it's going to go on and on forever now.
I hope
and
so.
And we just can't wait to give away that Bitcoin because it's a huge test of skill. But you know, it's a game of chance. And I think the odds are on our side. I don't think we're going to give away Bitcoin anytime soon, even though we'd love to.
Well, if you want to give me that Bitcoin, I mean, just because we're friends here now, feel free, man. That's all I'm saying. I'm just kidding. But honestly, how great of events are these kind of things, do you think, for just building up the Bitcoin space and the camaraderie that comes with not only just like golf, but having these kind of side events and things like that all over the globe?
It's actually fantastic. And I mean, like for us at Samara, you know, our whole shtick is trying to get more Bitcoin from Bitcoin, right? We try and produce Bitcoin from Bitcoin, get a high return for people on it. And the people at these types of events have never even heard of the possibility.
Yeah.
Like I've already met a whole handful of people that don't know that Bitcoin is, yes, a great store of value, but it's also an amazing piece of collateral. It is the most liquid piece of collateral out there, and you can borrow against it, you can lend against it, you can use it to basically fund anything you want, and anything you fund with it is going to be more valuable in the future as long as you keep your Bitcoin. So the idea is not to give away your Bitcoin, but use it for useful purposes. And I'll tell you, that word has to get out there. And there are places like this where they're not all professionals, the individuals who are interested in Bitcoin, who come to these events to learn more. They're very open-minded. They're way more open-minded than some of the like highfalutin economists and all that who poo-poo Bitcoin. These people get it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that this is, you know, starting the trend. Michael Saylor has come out and said that Bitcoin's the best collateral. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do at Samurai and or Samara, excuse me, and you know what you think the future of Bitcoin is.
Well, the future of Bitcoin is just much wider acceptance than it has up till now. So what we're trying to do at Samara is, first of all, educate people on all the different uses it can have, and then to give people a way to manage their Bitcoin in a way that they can not just keep it in a box forever, but at the end of the day, end up with more. So I certainly believe that whatever Bitcoin you have, you should keep some of it very safe in cold storage or whatever, and not let it out of your hands at all. But not all of it. Some of it should be used for its other good properties, like collateral. So what we do is we find different trading strategies based on Bitcoin and futures on Bitcoin and perps on Bitcoin and all of that. And then instead of funding these trades with dollars, we fund it with Bitcoin. So use Bitcoin as margin at all the different venues available around the world to trade, to buy, sell, whatever. And when you make profits, put it back into Bitcoin.
Yeah,
so your Bitcoin grows over time, and you're not like lending your Bitcoin to anyone, you're not lending against it, you're actually using it to effectively fund business activity of all sorts. So that's what we do at Samara. And the useful things about places like this and the people there is that they don't know it's possible.
Yeah.
And so our word to them is that come learn and then start playing a little bit with your Bitcoin, because in the future, you ask where is Bitcoin going? It clearly is going to go way above $1 million. Why? Because at the moment, only a couple 100 million people own it.
Yeah.
Most of the professional investors, most of the wealth in the world does not own a single Bitcoin or even a fraction of a Bitcoin. And in the end, everybody will need some to protect against inflation, to protect against the demise of all fiat currencies, which inevitably happens. Gold has survived for 5,000 years, and Bitcoin will survive for 5,000 years or more. And that's
we're only
future.
15 years in at this point, right? 16 years in.
I know.
So how quickly do you think that this is growing, though? Because, I mean, we're seeing now the most powerful man in the world, theoretically, right? The President of the United States, the President-elect talking last year, the sitting Vice President talking this year. I mean, it seems like things are taking off and taking off quick.
Yeah, I think that the difference in the last year to this year is huge. It's a pretty good inflection point. And this whole idea of, you know, protecting your balance sheet by putting Bitcoin on it is a fantastic idea, because, you know, if you keep cash as an individual or as a company, as the years go by, it's worth less and less and less.
Yeah.
Now, gold is not that transportable, it's not so fungible. Bitcoin is fully, like, easily transportable, easily saved. And so the more that people do that with their balance sheet, the more valuable their balance sheet will be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So that's a great trend. And there's so many different ways of doing it. Like, Strategy does everything sexy on the liability side. They have all these convertible bonds, they raise debt, they raise equity, and they buy Bitcoin. The Bitcoin they keep is very, very pure. They don't do anything with it on the asset side.
Yeah.
We at Samara, we help companies manage their asset side as well. So we have corporates that have Bitcoin on the balance sheet that give it to us, and then in a year or two, they end up with more Bitcoin. So you can do interesting things on the asset side of the balance sheet, as well as the liability side, and that's just growing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've now come across even an Indian corporate company that put Bitcoin on the balance sheet and is going to start building that way to preserve wealth for them. And look, the Indian rupee is no stellar currency.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when it was 8 and now it's 80. And that's, not that many years. So
Yeah.
they really need Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I mean, just it seems like the growing adoption globally is rapidly accelerating.
Yes.
Now, what do you think is the biggest factor for all of that? I mean, we've got the ETFs in the U.S., we've got, President Trump, we've got Michael Saylor. Like, what do you think has been a big catalyst? Or maybe it's just this, the Bitcoin cocktail that we like to put out there, that everybody's just, whatever your flavor is, whether it's a Shirley Temple or, a vodka soda or something like that, whatever your taste is, that's what's helping Orange Pill you. Like, what do you think is that big driver?
I think the biggest effect and the biggest mover, unfortunately, is time. There's no way to rush these things. It's a new technology. I mean, I remember in the 80s when the internet was already around, and I used to email people in universities over the internet, but nobody knew about it because there was no browser, there was no nothing. So the first 10, 15 years of the internet, nobody knew about it. And fast forward 30 years from then, and every single person on Earth is connected to the internet.
Yeah.
So we're in those early days where, in 30 years, every single person on Earth will be connected to the Bitcoin network. Either directly or settlements will happen on it. All of the securities in the world will settle on it. It is the most secure ledger in the world. And if people want to preserve information forever, there's no better place to do it on these types of networks. And Bitcoin is the big daddy of them all.
Do you think we're reaching that inflection point?
I think we're reaching it in different places at different times. I think in the US, we're reaching it now because there was like a coiled spring. The population was ready for it. Everybody was ready for it. And the regulators and the government, they were the old guard and they were resisting. That has gotten lifted now. I think the genie's out of the bottle. So in the US now, Bitcoin will be very, very fast growing for the next couple of years. In fact, as soon as the wirehouses like Morgan Stanley and all these other places, their wealth management departments and the RIAs in the US control most of the wealth. They cannot even put Bitcoin on the balance sheet of one of their clients discretionary up till now. It's just changing. As soon as that happens and it becomes part of the standard portfolio, instead of the 60-40 portfolio, you have 60-30 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I mean, then it'll just go forever. So that's in America. In other places of the world, there are different things that have to happen. In India, there's a huge tax on Bitcoin. So if you buy and sell Bitcoin, it's like a 30% tax.
Jeez.
One of the reasons why corporations in parts of the world like India and Japan are benefiting from putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet, because corporate share tax rates are much lower. So, Meta Planet or whatever, their tax rates on Bitcoin is like 50%, but on stocks is 20%. So you're much better off buying the companies with Bitcoin on the balance sheet than others. So, that's going to be a slow move throughout the world. In Latin America, it's more about using the Bitcoin network to settle stable coins.
Yeah.
Right? You can have dollars that move on the Bitcoin network or other networks, and now you have a way of saving your wealth from the fiat governments in those places that are not very trustable.
Yeah.
So in different places, it's going to happen for different reasons and different levels. But one thing is clear, it's happening everywhere, right? It's going everywhere. I mean, I could not believe when I came across this Indian corporate with Bitcoin on their balance sheet.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, as
crazy.
they say, different strokes for different folks, right? I mean, it's just wherever you're seeing these people, you got to meet them where they're at. Now, where do you think that is going to, I guess the next revolution is going to be? Do you think it's the corporate adoption side, the government adoption side?
I think it's going to be everybody realizing that even if the price is $100,000 or $200,000, you don't have to buy a Bitcoin. You just put X amount of your wealth in Bitcoin, whether it's 0.2 Bitcoin or 0.3 Bitcoin. And what that does, it protects that piece of your wealth and your savings from the ravages of inflation and from the ravages of governments who want to seize it from you. So that's valuable no matter what price Bitcoin is. The price of a Bitcoin is not important. It's how much of your own wealth you put into this asset that is then going to protect you from otherwise having to put it in dollars, which in 50 years will be worth nothing.
Yeah.
Even at 2% inflation rate, 2% a year in 50 years, that's almost 100%.
Yeah.
So your dollar is worth like 1 cent in 50 years. If you want to save for your children, don't do it in dollars.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's inflating away, but what is it going to take, do you think, for more people to get onto the Bitcoin network? Obviously, we've gotten, you know, the big mainstream headlines, but I think you highlighted a big thing on the flip side of it, the inflation.
Yeah.
How much more pain do we got to feel, do you think? Is that going to play a big factor, you think?
I think that's going to play a big factor, but it's more about education. Like you and I are talking about it, you're a believer, I'm a believer.
Yeah.
To us, it's obvious. Of course, you shouldn't keep it in dollars, put it in Bitcoin. Why? Not because Bitcoin is some crazy thing that's going to go up in price. The reason it's going to go up in price is because everything else is inflating away. And it's very obvious to us. It needs to be told again and again. You know, some people learn by repetition. You need to get the word out there. It has to be part of economics education. It's going to take a while, but I think repeating it, having more events like this where normal people come and then they tell all their friends about it.
Yeah.
Especially this idea that, you know, you haven't missed the boat.
Yeah.
The boat is at 100,000, you have not missed the boat because the price of a Bitcoin doesn't matter. It's like the price of a stock doesn't matter. The capital markets, what is the entire capitalization of a company matters. What's the value of a company? It's not the value of one stock. It's the number of stocks times the price of the stock. So if the Bitcoin network is now $2 trillion, it's going to be like 25, 30 trillion. You don't have to own all of it. You just have to have your net worth in it.
Yeah.
I think it takes a little while for people to get comfortable with this. I think that's what we have to do, tell more and more people about that. And that it's a great inflation hedge. It's the best way to save the value of your work. I mean, another way to save the value of your work is to buy gold. Then you have to keep the gold and store it. Here you can
You got to
memorize your
verify
president.
it. You got to do all that stuff. You can't transport it across borders.
Yeah.
I mean, gold is just, I mean, it's one of those things that it's that pet rock. It's dying, right? You know? I mean, I do think that there is a place for gold. I mean, I'm rocking a gold chain right now, you know? I like people like the jewelry aspect of it. I think that there is some utility in that sense. But I think over time, people are starting to figure it out. If you look at the statistics now, more Americans hold Bitcoin than gold.
I know.
So,
That's great.
I think it's coming, and it's coming quick.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, that is just going to accelerate because there are still Americans who are poo-pooing it.
Yeah.
Very well-educated, well-informed people. So it's not about education. You know, it's this thing like, what will orange pill you? It's like a host of different things. It's a lot of common sense, actually. You know, if you look around the world and you look at what's happening, you look at the price of goods, you look at countries, you look at what the U.S. did with Russian, just shutting off their funds. You know, treasuries can. In this country, people took away people's gold.
Yeah.
In the
And that wasn't too long
1900s.
ago.
That was within the last 100 years.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, I think that the revolution on that aspect is coming very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think more and more people are going to start to wake up. And I mean, we saw the Canadian truckers protest. We saw all those things happen not too long ago as well. And that was right down the street.
I know.
I mean, that was not too far from where we're sitting here today.
Yeah.
So I think all of these events, more people are opening their eyes and more people are open to the idea of Bitcoin. So in your experience, how are those conversations developed over your time working with your company and building in the Bitcoin space?
Well, when we got into it in my previous company in 2015, it wasn't even if we had brought it up to any of our professional investors and institutional investors, they would have instantly fired us. So we didn't even bother bringing it up. This was 2015, right? And then over the years, more and more people heard of it. And then, frankly, myself personally, I was a skeptic back in 2010, 11 when I first came across the algorithm. I was like, this is corny. There's no way, like a software that no one can break and you can put your money in it. I was very, very dubious, very skeptical. And that skepticism lasted for 3 or 4 years. And then I started to see the worth of it. And then I tried to do stuff with it, and it was very easy to do. And then I started to talk to people about it. And then, I saw my own sort of inflationary stuff come into being. And I saw what was going on in India and some of these other emerging market countries. And then once stable coins came about, saw that this technology is actually good for a lot of things. And so if it took me 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now you're talking about, it should take everyone that long probably. There are very few people who get it instantly. And that's just the reality. That's
it
fine.
takes multiple touch points, right? But I think like the reality is that we're getting more of these touch points in the mainstream media. We're getting more of these touch points just in everyday life, and I think that that's going to be accelerating.
And don't forget the generations.
Yeah.
Like the younger generation is a lot more open than old farts like me. It took me 4 years.
Hey, you're still a young whippersnapper, man. Don't be saying all that.
The first time I came across Bitcoin was my son, who was like 12 at the time, in 2012, started mining it on his GPU. And I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Smart kid.
Little did I realize that he was smarter than me.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's how evolution works. Your children should be smarter than you. But I think you see it in the politicians in the US. A lot of the younger politicians are much more supportive than the older ones. So that generational shift, especially now that the baby boomers are leaving their wealth to their kids, and as those kids start managing that money, they're going to be perfectly fine putting it in Bitcoin and putting it in assets like that.
I think that's going
to happen. Yeah. That's inevitable. That's the next 10 years. So by the end of 10 years, I would say that every single American, 99% will own Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then the world will come.
And then it's coming.
And then it's coming.
You're doing great stuff to help with that adoption. So why don't you tell people where they can find out more about Samara and the whole nine?
So Samara Alpha Management, we have a great website. We have we sponsor this hole-in-one. We're trying to do various golf tournaments.
We've got some serious business going on. I think we've got a third microphone over here, too.
The author of the instant classic, The Big Print. The Big Print.
Now you got to go get the book. Come on.
Get the book. Get the chair.
There we go. We've got
that guy is boring as fuck. He's just always trying to squeak out 1/10 of 1% more.
There you go.
Just buy Bitcoin and shut the fuck up.
There we go.
That's the only thing you need to do. You don't need to get fancy with it. Just buy and hold. That's what I've been doing. And look at me. I'm Max Kaiser. That's what happens. Am I right? I'm right.
There we go. We got the legend.
Now, where's everybody?
Max, where are we going now, man?
We're going higher.
How high? Tell me.
We're going much higher.
Much higher.
Because the panic is setting in. The central banks are seeing themselves in the mirror, and they don't like what they see. They see a leech. They see a parasite. They realize their days of money printing can only fuel the Bitcoin revolution.
There we go. Well, the big print is coming, right?
The big print is coming.
There he is. Where is he?
Come on aboard.
Yeah, we're trying to find him. There he is.
There you go. Have a seat.
The big print. Here we go.
Have a microphone. Here's the book. Yeah. Here's the drink.
The best part of the book is the foreword, though.
The foreword is excellent. I must say. Lawrence, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Nice to see you, Max.
Congratulations on the success of the book. You mind if I steal your chair?
No, you are fine, my
All
friend.
right.
You are fine. Well,
we've
got the big print coming here, and I want to hear Max Kaiser and Lawrence Lepard rip on the big print. Is it coming quicker than you thought, Lawrence?
It's a little hard to say. Nobody knows exactly when. The strains are all there, though. The Japanese bond market falling apart. That's certainly a big
Yeah,
night.
I think this is the straw in the wind. This for 20 years, Lawrence, we've been talking about the yen, the Japanese bond market, and how it fits into the global Ponzi scheme.
Right.
And it's very slow motion train wreck. I'm not sure people fully understand the interrelationship between the Japanese bond market, the yen, or what's called the yen carry trade,
Yep.
and the big print. Can you connect the dots for us?
I'll try. I mean, the bottom line is, as we all know, is that fiat is a Ponzi. And of course, as you pointed out years ago, Max, you can't taper a Ponzi scheme. And the biggest source of cheap fiat for many, many years was Japan, where they had 0% interest rates. And so people would borrow in yen terms, and they'd use that money to get yielding assets, and it was a carry trade. And that all worked great as long as the yen interest rates were low. But what we're now seeing, and it's a really notable move, I mean, it's almost gone parabolic, is that the long bonds in Japan, the 30 and the 40 year, are really starting to hockey stick up. And from almost sub 100 basis points, they're now in the approaching 400 basis point range. And so to me, what that indicates is that people are losing confidence in the underlying strength of the Japanese currency, and they know that just like America, Japan is going to have to print. They're going to have to print massively.
Right. I mean, just to get into the technical a little bit. So when you say that people are short the Japanese yen or selling the Japanese yen, just so people understand the mechanics of that. So in other words, if I want to raise a bunch of money and I want to take that money and I want to invest it somewhere, I can go to Japan and I can sell short yen. I can sell yen in the open market short. And
Right.
the reason why I would do that is because the interest cost on my short sale is unbelievably low, like
Right.
almost less than 1/10 of 1%.
Right.
So therefore Japan becomes the least expensive place to borrow money.
Correct.
So you're borrowing money in the form of selling yen in the open market in a margin account as a short seller, right?
Right.
And you take the cash, and if you put it into the U.S. Treasury market yielding 3 or 4 or 5%, you're making a positive
Carry.
cost of carry. Okay,
Right.
that's where they come up with the term carry
Trade,
Okay.
correct.
So now if you look at the global market of all these fiat currencies, every country has a different interest rate. And so at the bottom, though, for decades, has been the Japanese yen.
Correct.
So the
That's
Japanese yen becomes the base layer of the global Ponzi scheme.
Correct.
And so what we're seeing now is an unwinding
Yes.
of this global Ponzi scheme. So interest rates or the cost of borrowing are going up. Tell us what instigated this reversal in Japan.
Well, I think a couple of things. First of all, Japanese inflation has been going up, and the yen has been weakening, I believe, over time.
All right, full stop. So for 2 decades, we've heard about the lost decade in Japan.
Right.
That they were suffering from deflation.
Right.
Okay, now we hear that rice is up 100%.
Right.
And that's a big component of the inflation index in Japan. So at what point did the script flip? What precipitated the flip?
I think it was COVID, and I think it was just the change in the U.S. and everywhere that we've moved from a deflationary world. 40 years of deflation really flipped. I mean, in March of 2020, the U.S. 10-year briefly traded for 50 basis points, and then it reversed, and it reversed hard. And in my view, what's happened is we've gone from a 40-year deflationary trend. We now live in an inflationary era. And the reason for that is that finally, more and more people have come to understand what you've always said: you can't taper a Ponzi, and that is in a system where money is debt, and debt must continually grow because you have to create debt to service the interest on the old debt. You have to grow the money supply. And so they were able to mask the inflation for 40 years, Max, as you and I both know, through a lot of beneficial things. I mean, they had shale oil, they had the China, people working for pennies and other things that helped create a fake sense of deflation, but all the while they were still growing the money supply at 7 or 8% a year. And that the fact that the money supply has to continue to grow is finally being recognized by more and more people, and that's leading to more and more people recognizing that they have inflation and that we will have more inflation. And of course, that's the thesis of the book, that the Keynesian model is a lie, and it by definition requires inflation, and then by further definition, it has to get worse,
All right,
like any other Ponzi scheme.
Let me ask you this. So there's two different ways of deflation manifesting itself.
Right.
But on one side there, one example that you're giving would be shale oil revolution was brought the cost of energy down through fracking, as it's known. Or you had outsourcing of labor to China, which obviously reduced labor costs in countries like America by 90, 95, 96 or more %. Okay, but getting back to Japan for a second, and I want to ask you this question. I'm just thinking about it, talking to you right now. Is it possible to create artificial deflation? And what I mean by that is it possible on these low interest rates in Japan to be caused by, and what we call naked short selling, where the financiers out there are just selling trillions and trillions of dollars worth of futures contracts to borrow against, but those futures contracts don't really exist in the market.
Yes.
Is that possible?
I think it's possible. I think it's highly likely.
Then isn't that ultimately the straw that broke the camel's back? Because at some point you run into a situation where the market cannot withstand. There's a limit, I guess.
I think that's right.
You think is that a plausible?
I think that factored in as well, and it's hard to tease these things out, Max, and to know which of these factors contributed the most.
So it's like a reinforcing illusion where the deflation due to the labor and the fracking, et cetera, it gives confidence to the financiers to go dump a bunch of Japanese yen futures, right?
Exactly.
And we're going to borrow against this and do this. And so it becomes excessive. It becomes ultimately what you see in a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
But it's a very, very sophisticated Ponzi scheme.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But nevertheless, it is.
Oh, it is.
Okay. So if it's broken,
yeah,
and the Japanese yen is the canary in the coal mine.
Yes.
And now we're seeing a reversion to the mean.
Yep.
And we're seeing interest rates now are getting ahead of anyone's prediction where they're going, right? Every financial pundit out there has been wrong.
Yep.
And they continue to be wrong.
Yep.
They're not going down.
No, they're not.
And just in the last week or so,
yeah,
the bond market has looked horrible, right?
Yeah, the bond market's totally horrible. And this must be just Scott Bessent's worst nightmare.
Right?
Right, because he thought that, we put some more tariffs on, the stock market will fall, and we'll catch a bid in the bond market. Briefly they do, but then the bonds just keep marching higher.
Right. And he says stuff like, well, we're going to stimulate the economy by, not raising rates or maybe lowering rates. It's the supply side economics theory has never worked.
What's very interesting is, of course, the Trump administration started off with DOGE, which was a noble effort, but eventually they had to pivot, and as Lynn pointed out, they've now gone to, okay, well, let's not worry about DOGE. We're going to outgrow it.
Right.
Well, the only way to outgrow it is to have GDP go up faster than debt. And the only way GDP can go up faster than debt is either we get an enormous productivity increase, i.e. we get fusion tomorrow, which isn't going to happen. We get total AI tomorrow, which isn't going to happen. Or we inflate the underlying currency so that the GDP number gets bigger, even though the number of goods and services provided does not get bigger.
But there's another paradox here, because if you try to grow the economy, you have to do CapEx. You have to borrow.
Right.
And your borrowing costs are going
getting
up.
higher, yeah.
And the interest on the borrowing is going up.
Yeah.
So you don't have room
to
borrow,
You're crowded
even
out.
to grow
the
economy on that side either.
Yeah, that's another great point. That's another great point. Yeah.
Right?
Again, what the book points out, and once again, thank you so much for writing the brilliant foreword to the book. What the book points out is that they are trapped, and all roads lead to monetary debasement. They just do.
Right. So let's talk about the timing of all of this, because the bond market having a fall has been the widowmaker for 20, 25 years.
I know.
Because they always come up with some way to extend and pretend.
Yeah.
But let's say the timing, and I think the Japan market is telling us that this is the end.
We're close.
So
We're very close.
The timing of your book could be, you could have nailed it.
Maybe.
The one guy out of 10,000 who actually got it right.
I don't know about
might be Lawrence Lepard.
I don't know about that.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but just to repeat what you just said, there's only two paths. One is, because you ultimately are destroying the dollar. So if you don't want to destroy the dollar, you would have to allow a lot of these bonds to go belly up.
Right, and that would be
Default.
that would be a depression or 1929.
Right? 1929.
And they're not going to let that happen.
Deflationary depression.
Exactly.
Which they're not going to happen.
They're not going to let it happen.
Right. So they're gonna print.
They're going to do what they always do, what they've done time and time again, and what more and more people are figuring out. And that's why sound money is absolutely crushing bonds. I mean, since 2020, Bitcoin is up 2,000% measured in sovereign bond terms. 2,000%. I mean, and that's because sovereign bonds are down 60% and Bitcoin's up, 10x. So it's just, this is a sovereign debt crisis. We can all see it. It's blatantly obvious. Will there be zigzags? Sure. And as you point out, there will be times when they do things that make us think we're wrong. And it's not going to be a one-way straight line to, Bitcoin at $2 million. But it's going to trend in that direction very, very heavily. And as you also pointed out, this Japanese thing is a real canary right now.
Now, in the past, what we've seen is a lot of collusion with the central banks.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so the Fed will say, we're engaged in quantitative tightening,
Yeah.
but the European Central Bank will ramp up printing.
Right.
So, and on a global basis, there's never not been a time of massive inflation of the money supply.
Yeah, they take turns printing, and as we know right now, China's printing massively because they had a real estate collapse.
Right.
And we also know that they do printing that they don't call printing. I mean, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
They go to Japan, and they probably say something like, you buy our bonds, and then we'll give you a cheap swap line to give you the money to buy our bonds with.
Right.
I mean, there are all kinds of things that are going on behind the scenes that more or less represent monetary debasement, but we can't see them because they don't want us to see them. Another good one is the SLR, which is the supplementary leverage ratio, which limits how many bonds the banks can buy. Well, they've already hinted that they're going to eliminate that. So effectively, they're going to enable the banks to do QE, which is really what they did in World War I, where they said to the banks, hey, buy these Liberty bonds, and we're going to give you money cheaper than the Liberty bonds. You're going to make a positive carry.
Right.
They're going to do the same thing here.
So, and Bitcoin, therefore, they never saw it coming.
That's right.
Because that's the escape hatch,
That's
as
right.
Christine Lagarde.
Well, some of them kind of do see it coming, but they don't want to. They certainly don't want to admit it because it takes away their privilege.
Well, was the first sign of all this back in Japan, like last August, when that carry trade, just the raising of the interest rates by 25 basis points, send the shockwaves? Was that sort of sounding the alarms? And then
Yes, that was the first step, but it's only gotten worse. I mean, that chart, the charts on the Japanese interest rates are just stunning. I mean,
we'll talk about in Japan. What do they call it? Yield management or yield
curve control.
Yield curve control, YCC, right?
Yeah, right.
They did that last year.
Yeah.
But it didn't work.
Right.
I think because of the presence of Bitcoin.
Probably.
And so now nobody believes them if they're going to try and do it again, right?
Yeah, they're going to have a Liz Truss moment. They're going to have to do it again. I mean, bottom line, and the great advantage that all Bitcoiners have, in my opinion, is that we understand something that's absolutely true. It's almost mathematically true. And we also understand the way the system is constructed. And there's no way for the system to stop what they're doing. And so, we know where it's going. Now, the thing we don't know, the thing that's tough, and it's been tough for me because I've been fighting this battle for 40 years, as have you, is we don't know the zigs and the zags, and we don't know how fast. But I sleep well at night knowing that my kids are going to be completely financially secure because the things I own are going to go up in value in an enormous amount.
Hi.
Hey, Stacy. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no, I was sitting right off there waiting for you guys to call me up on stage, but you guys were talking and talking and talking.
By the way, I brought you both signed hard copies of the book. I also brought one for President Bukele. I hope you guys can give that to him. That would be nice.
I have it right there.
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody steals it.
Right, so finally, let's talk about gold. So gold is not absent from the party.
No.
So it is waking up.
It's analog sound money, and it's the second best to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to crush it in terms of alpha. But as I always say, you can't print gold. You can't print Bitcoin. And so for my 80-year-old clients who don't want to have a 50% drawdown, some of them own gold, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's not going to go up as fast, but it's not going to lose value. 8 billion people know that it's got value. And Bitcoin will ultimately demonetize gold. That will happen, but not tomorrow. There will be plenty of time to make the transition from one to the other.
How's your book doing? Is it selling well?
It's doing well. We sold 25,000 copies.
Wow.
Yeah, which I don't know in book terms. I don't know if that's good or bad.
That's really good.
I think that's really good.
Yeah, and
wow.
Yeah, but to be frank, I mean, I'm gonna, I'm always a half-empty kind of guy, being an old boomer. We got to get it to the normies. The Bitcoin people like it. I appreciate that, and I love all the support. I'm very thankful for everyone who's bought it and recommended it. Success will come when we get onto the mainstream media platforms, and Tucker and everyone else. We got to get the rest of the world, Max. You know that, right? And that's why I wrote it.
Yeah. Well, it's true, but you can lead a horse to water.
Well, that's right.
But you can't teach him to surf.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us here on the Bitcoin Sports Network podcast. And are you on stage at the main event?
I'm not doing a speech. I think I'm on a panel with a couple of guys, and I'm happy to do that. And I'll be hanging around signing books. I brought as many books as I could realistically figure out logistically, about 300. So if you want one, see me on the first day, because I suspect I'll sell out. And they're available on Amazon. So.
All right. Well, buy them and then leave a review. That's the problem. I'm going to have to buy one as well. I know you gave me a signed copy, but in order to get a proper Amazon review, I have to buy it.
Once again, Max, thank you for the forward. I'm deeply appreciative.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was a joy to write and easy to write after I read the book.
Yeah,
I realized immediately that there was a gap in the marketplace, and the book fills it brilliantly. It's a general interest, general reader.
Yeah, the Bitcoin Standard is a better, deeper, more fully researched book.
Yeah.
But I give it to people and they don't always read it. I've tried with this to make it readable by everybody, and that was the goal.
Huh.
Definitely. I like all the explanation of memes in the back. He gets into the memes, how do memes work in meme. You don't find that in the Bitcoin Standard. Safe. Only in this book do they go into the memes. Very important. Yeah. All right, Lawrence, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so I guess we're going to continue on. I'm going to come over here. We're going to stay on stage, Max.
Okay.
Me and Max are.
Oh, okay.
Let's do it.
See you guys.
See you. We're going to stay.
People.
Gonna stay on stage. Yeah.
People that need people.
So the biggest conversation I've been having is with people who have been the players.
Yeah, what are they saying?
They all say that, our food at the Max and Stacey Golf Invitational was exceptional, right? Compared to nowhere is going to be able to compete with the Max and Stacey Golf Invitational because we have Chef Rick, right?
Yeah, Chef Rick brings the goods to the buffet line, and of course. And, it did very, very well. And it's become an international sensation. I'm already losing my voice.
I don't think you need to shout so loud. I think
I can't stop.
That's your style. That's your style, is to just shout. Is to shout. So we just landed in Vegas, and we literally came straight here.
Yeah.
From the plane. You've already been given a whole bunch of hats. It's really.
I got hats. We got books. We got swag. We're cooking already on day one. It's not even day one. When does the conference begin?
Tomorrow, but it's like a, what do they call it? The business. It's the sort of not the whale. It's like the whale business side. They meet with important business people.
Yeah, that's day one. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not on that day one.
No.
We're on the final day.
Yeah.
At 12:30, and that's a good slot to have because.
Yeah, definitely. 12:30 we're on, and the Bitcoin Sports Network is doing a great job in expanding all their events all over the world. Really, they got this one here in Vegas. We got the Max and Stacey in El Salvador. They've got, I think, another one in Nashville.
Yeah.
And we're looking to do one in Panama now because Panama is becoming a hotspot
Oh, yes.
for Bitcoin sovereign adoption.
Yes, Meyer Mizrahi, who is the mayor of Panama City, he's here in Las Vegas right now, and he's going to be on stage with us. He's been messaging me asking where we are and what are we going to do tonight. And
Yeah, he
little
knows
does
where all
he-
the good restaurants are.
yeah, but usually we're in bed and asleep by like 8 o'clock.
And Chris and Frida, of course, have once again, it looks like a huge success here. Place is really popping. It's happening here in Vegas. Everyone walking out when we were walking in earlier seemed really happy and smiling.
Well, the interesting thing to me is how the Bitcoin is becoming such a deep and rich culture of its own, right? Like compare like this to that first Bitcoin conference in 2011 in Prague, when there were 20 or 30 sort of, people with autism and Tourette's there, all the coders, me, you, Simon Dixon, and Pierre Noisa from Paymium. And, a lot of people are talking about Pierre because his daughter they just tried to kidnap her in Paris. So this is a big issue of security around Bitcoiners. But, wow, like, it's literally insane that everything keeps on happening in France like that.
Yeah, the security issue is becoming more and more important for sure. And France is, you know why? Because there's a lot of shit coining in France. So it tends to warp the mind. And it breeds a lot of depraved people.
Well, as Bastiat, the great French statesman, said, when plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, across the course of time, they develop for themselves a legal system that justifies it and a moral code that glorifies it, right? So this makes sense in a Europe that prints money relentlessly, where Christine Lagarde promises that a CBDC is coming so that they can control more of what you do and what you say and what you spend your own money on. And of course, France is the ultimate of socialism in terms of plundering the other taxpayers to gimme, 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 right? So it would make sense that they would just think it's fine. That guy has a lot of money, and I'm going to take it from him.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's great points, really, is that the Bitcoin, as it gets more and more popular, it exposes these other competing ways of doing business, and you see them in a new light, in the light of perfect money, in the light of Austrian economics, in the light of Bitcoin. And the French model and the European model of socialism is looking worse and worse in a lot of ways because there was never really any competition. They would be very snobby and say that, well, we might be in debt and we might not be making much money, but we get free health and free schooling and things like that, which of course is not free. It's just moving the board, the shell game, moving the shell around, and it doesn't really result in any kind of sound economics. The debts keep on getting higher. And now it's reached an inflection point, as it always does. Whenever a country engages in runaway money printing, it always ends in some kind of catastrophe, right?
Yeah. Or, just because I spoke about France and about all the kidnappings or attempted kidnappings of Bitcoiners there, I did think of Brigitte Macron punching the president of France today on the plane. I mean,
I know this inside story is that Macron he sold his Bitcoin last week. So his wife punched him in the face and said, Chakra Bleu, you idiot. Why did you sell our Bitcoin?
Probably. That was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, so I think that the award ceremony is happening. That means that it's time for Max to get up on stage, start to dance, start to show people their awards. So thank you for joining us. We're going now.
Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day, where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're gonna experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're gonna be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing, I can't wait. Awesome, see you in BTC Isla. Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day, where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're going to experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're going to be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing. I can't wait. Awesome. See you in BTC Isla. Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day, where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're gonna experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're going to be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing. I can't wait. Awesome. See you in BTC Isla. Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're gonna experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're going to be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing. I can't wait. Awesome. See you in BTC Isla. Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're going to experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're going to be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing. I can't wait. Awesome. See you in BTC Isla.
Hey Bitcoin community, we're here with the winners of the second annual Samara Bitcoin Golf Championship. It's Troy Neal and Josh Cassidy, owners of High Pin, one of the premier charity sporting event companies in the Bitcoin and golf space, well, golf space, but now the Bitcoin space. Basically, their company goes out and just crushes drives as far as the eye can see, from the knees, behind the back, in the air, off of jock straps, any way you can think it to have a good time in order to build awareness about the charities and organizations that golf tournaments have and host. This year's charity of choice was Operation Bitcoin, which is a premier Bitcoin organization that helps veterans find jobs in the Bitcoin community and educate them on Bitcoin. And with that, I'd like to send it over to Josh and Troy and get their opinion, their first opinion from their first experience at the Bitcoin Golf Championship. Guys, how'd you like it out there?
It was a blast. I will say that we are Troy Teal and Josh Cassidy, and being a veteran-owned company, we have absolutely loved to support Operation Bitcoin, being a veteran thing. We had a great time. It was an interesting format. It was actually really, really tough. We had a double, a couple bogeys, but we grinded it out. We made it through. and our company's called Pin High Fundraising.
Did I get that all wrong?
You said High Pin.
Ah,
and then
dang
you called
it.
me Troy Neal, and you called
I
me
know.
Cassidy.
I've been calling
I
Troy
don't want-
Neal all
Listen,
day long.
listen,
All
it's
I'm
okay.
taking
It was a
out.
long day.
I'm so
It
sorry.
was a long. We've been
It was
drinking
a long
bit.
day. It was in the wind. We had a great time. And for our first time here, we can't wait for the invite back next year
Absolutely.
to be able to defend our
And do we
championship.
get a discount for being returning champs, or how's that work? We'll talk about that later offline, I guess.
Can we get these through security?
Yeah,
Are these,
we're about to find
are
out.
these going to be okay through security? And
I think so. You know, they may be considered carry on. You may have to check them.
Check them, yeah.
But that'll be up to how much you sweet talk the TSA
Next year,
here
we need a nice
in
case
Las
for these
Vegas.
things next year. I want to get it ruined, man. I want to keep it nice.
Yeah.
And we got to take an opportunity. We got to bring in Hunter Knoll. We got to bring him in. Come on, bud.
Hunter,
Come
get
on.
over here, man.
So Hunter Knoll, he's a hitter for Pin High, based out of Denver, Colorado. I guess Greeley, Colorado. He was the hero today. He was the one on the tee box raising the money for Operation Bitcoin. Hunter, what did you think about the day and the group and the golfers that were a part of this event?
I thought it was absolutely spectacular. We had so much fun. It was a beautiful course out here at Valley High in Vegas, and I'll tell you, we can't wait to be back next year, and hopefully these guys can defend the title, because if they do it once, they got to do it twice, right?
And I think Hunter, you were able to raise $7,000, just under $7,000 in support of Operation Bitcoin. So all thanks to the ladies and gentlemen that played in the tournament, obviously, but with Hunter's effort and their charitable donations, we raised a bunch of money for the vets that truly need it, and we'd love to get in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there any particular hole out there that you guys thought was the best format, or anything that gave you the biggest challenge? You know, you guys ended up 6
question.
under par. You beat out second place by 2 strokes.
With a double.
With a double.
So I would say the tough one was playing your own ball, or I'm sorry, playing basically a alternate shot with one ball was tough. That hurt us pretty hard. And the worst shot, the unscramble, as I would call it. We call it, instead of a scramble, it's an unscramble.
The proof of stake
You
hole.
pick the worst, yes, the proof of stake. Pick the worst shot every time. We skated away with that one, but I would say the one where you had to play one ball as a team and rely on your teammate every shot, I definitely lit that one on fire for us. Luckily, we carried it throughout the rest of the day, but that one was a tough one. That gave us the most trouble.
And
Relying on one golf ball was rough.
And we talked about this on the course, like the format, the fact that it wasn't just a scramble, right? 18 holes of scramble golf. It brought in this aspect of you actually got to play some golf. You got to make some putts. You got to hit some good shots. When it is alternate shot, or when you do have to pick the worst shot, incredible format. And so for anybody watching, next year, next event that you put on, that you have this format, you got to come play.
Yeah, if you haven't
'Cause
been to the
it is so
Bitcoin
much fun.
Championship, you haven't played this format, plain and simple. We've done over 1,000 events between the two of us. I've never seen this format before. So
Yeah.
if you want to see something new, this is the spot in Vegas, Bitcoin Championship for sure.
Absolutely, and if you're looking to meet some OGs in this space and have a great time and make some new connections and maybe get into the Bitcoin industry, or maybe teach your clients or your prospective clients about Bitcoin, or your sales team, these are definitely the events that you want to go to. We only bring out the best. We really truly believe in proof of work, and these 3 gentlemen showed proof of work today and gave everybody an amazing opportunity to see what excitement and fun in golf can really be about. And we're so happy that they are the champions of the 2nd annual Bitcoin Golf Championship, and we absolutely can't wait to see them again next year. So thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for all the money that you generated for the charity Operation Bitcoin this year. And
We appreciate being a part of it. We really thank you for letting us be a part of this. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
see you next time.
We're out.
Let's go.
Whatever the club
All right, we are back here live at the kickoff party with the man, the myth, the legend, Wyatt, author of this great book, The Bitcoinization of Finance, The Legend in Space Denver. I could go on and on about the great things that this guy is doing, but Wyatt, how you doing, boss?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me. That was a hell of an intro. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course. The intro wasn't long enough for you, man. So, tell me, we've got the Bitcoin for corporations. We got corporations FOMOing in. We've got the ETFs. We've got the government. What makes you so bullish about Bitcoin right this second?
Yeah, it's a great question, and that's really kind of what like the book gets to. Is like one of my main like reasons for writing this book is I always joke like I was traditionally trained in finance, so like a lot of good that did me. Now that I'm a Bitcoiner, but Bitcoiners always shit on finance. So they're like adverse to it, which like, don't get me wrong, like I respect that most of the time. It's like there's a lot of shenanigans in finance,
Yeah.
but it's like, I always say it's like every industry is susceptible to fiatness, right? And finance was particularly susceptible because it's a business of money, you know?
100%.
And so it was like easy to get corrupted. That being said, there's still a lot of good like traditional financial tools, products, and strategies we can apply to Bitcoin. And that's ultimately going to help us get to hyper-Bitcoinization because we need these things to access those large pools of capital. It's like, yeah, I stack sats. I recommend clients stack sats, not financial advice. But, you know, it's a good thing to do. And companies
Or
can do
financial
it.
advice.
But, you know, it's like we need more, and it's like finance is the avenue to get that.
Why do you think traditional finance was so resistant to Bitcoin for so long? Obviously, now they're flipping the script with the ETFs. But still, I feel like a lot of traditional finance, TradFi, is not here yet. So what is taking them so long?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of that is like incentive structures. You know, I'm a wealth manager. A lot of wealth managers make their nut charging AUM. You know, it's hard to charge AUM on Bitcoin because it's like, especially if you're someone's just recommending you buy and hold Bitcoin, it's like, where's your actual value add? So I think, you know, if we kind of like, we're going to have to, you know, tear down's aggressive, you know, but definitely, you know, rethink this with like different incentive structures, different payout structures. And so I think it really challenges them and like their traditional business and like what they've made money on previously. And then, you know, I think there's just like a stodginess a lot of times in finance. I mean, you know this, where it's like, this is the way it's been, this is the way we've been doing it. And ultimately, I think crypto in general gives, you know, a very bad name to cryptocurrency, and like Bitcoin gets tied up into that. So there's no reason why they haven't done the work. Like, I think they're out of excuses, but I think they're just kind of hiding behind like these fake facades.
Yeah, I think it's just par for the course, though, to be honest. Not to play on the golf over here, though, but I think that, you know, over time, right, it's their fiduciary responsibility to know about Bitcoin, or at least, right? Like, you know, I always think back to my parents because they've got a financial advisor. I told them a long time ago, you need to buy Bitcoin. And then, you know, my parents during 2020, when all the financial advisor had to do was just hold the S&P 500, my parents were happy that they didn't lose any money. Mike, the S&P 500 was up 20% in 2020, right? So I think it's just a lot of people are ignorant and lack that education. But the traditional finance, I think you're right? Maybe we don't need to tear it down, so to speak. Maybe that sounds a little dramatic, but I think that it's coming over time. Now, what do you think is a bigger driver of that? Do you think it's BlackRock coming in and saying these things? Because we still have the Jamie Dimons of the world coming out and saying it's for criminals, right? So what do you think is what do you think was bigger player? Maybe Trump, or was it the ETFs? What do you think was more of, getting the TradFi bros crypto curious, so to speak?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question. And like most things, you know, I think it's a confluence of factors. Unfortunately, I think there's a ton of groupthink in finance, which is a shame because, you know, it's like the old saying, it's like nobody gets fired for buying IBM. You know, that mindset is very pervasive, and it's like, oh, you don't get fired for doing like the non-contrarian thing. Like, you get fired for doing the contrarian thing, you don't understand it all the way, it blows up in your face, you lose a bunch of money. It's like, well, that's how you lose your job. And it's like most times these are pretty cushy jobs that like people don't want to lose, so you're just kind of forced into doing like the same thing like the next guy did. I give a ton of credit for Saylor on this front. I think he'll go down as a captain of industry, in particularly like the corporate finance industry, you know, with the likes of like Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, Carnegie, all those sorts of folks. And then I do think the Trump administration has a ton to do with it. While it's like, I think we have a problem in the West of like these political saviors that will just like come and, you know, accept Bitcoin and everything with fine and dandy. Like, I don't really buy into that. But what we saw with the Biden administration is like, well, they were extremely, you know, antagonistic towards Bitcoin. And it's like, I mean, that scared off developers, that scared off, you know, developments in the finance industry. So threatening jailing somebody like doesn't help, you know, at all. You know, so I think kind of like one person is Saylor, you know, kind of moving the needle and it's like being brave enough to do it. Plus also like the non-threat of like trying something new and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Like that certainly helps kind of on like the political realm of things.
Yeah, so do you think like, I mean, obviously money talks, right? At the end of the day, right?
Truth.
So the price action going up and then MSTR, Strategy B, formerly known as MicroStrategy, that success, do you think, how big of a factor do you think like their stock success? Because obviously, like you said, right, he's been a pioneer. Everybody thought he was crazy. It was not too long ago where everybody was talking about Saylor being gonna default, right? Like that was literally like, what, like a year ago maybe, when Bitcoin wasn't doing as well. And now, no, everybody shut up, you know? So how big of a, like, I guess, just the fact that it's been so successful, do you think that's played a role? And do you think that if he wasn't, you know, seeing this much success, even if like he was just getting more Bitcoin per share, which is kind of the new metric that people are looking at, even if the stock wasn't doing as well, do you think that he would be getting as much notoriety or notice from the TradFi world that he is?
Yeah, it's a great question. Per usual.
Yeah.
Per usual.
Yeah. I got a little dirt on my shoulder, dude. My bad.
I go back and forth with this because, like, I think, and Saylor should, and his team should get the credit for, like, the financial engineering they've done. What kind of sets MicroStrategy apart from everybody else is the way they've structured their company and the way they can access debt markets. So they have the convertible debt, they have their common shares, and they have Strike and Strife. So they have a lot of different levers to pull regardless of market conditions that are going to insulate them from turn downs in the public markets, turn down in the Bitcoin capital markets. I don't think every Bitcoin treasury company is created equally. Like, I think, you know, Metaplan is probably a good example of like the second mover. You know, it's like first mover MicroStrategy. It's like, okay, second mover, we're going to set this up like similar MicroStrategy. What I'm worried about is like the 50th Bitcoin treasury company that just like reverse merges into like whatever zombie public company. It's like, hey, we're going to buy Bitcoin, give us your dollars, potentially even sell Bitcoin to give us your dollars, where that worries me because it's like, what are their actual debt structures? Like, do they have any cash flow to like service this debt? It's like, I get a little hesitant. I try to warn my Bitcoin clients predominantly where it's like, we're dealing with public markets now. Like, this is a different beast. You know, I think if there is potentially a bubble in Bitcoin treasury companies where it's like, I think bubbles occur if you get too hyper-focused on like one metric, like Bitcoin per share. Like, even the good ones like MicroStrategy are going to be, you know, grouped into that bigger, you know, secular downturn. So I think they're ultimately a good thing. I think we should be hesitant on getting too hyper-focused on like one metric or the other, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it from a couple venture capitalists here recently where they said last bull run, they were seeing a bunch of Bitcoin mining companies come on. And what happened last bull run, right? All these Bitcoin mining companies became over-leveraged. They financed debt on the depreciating machines. Boom, explosion. Now they're saying they're seeing the same thing with these Bitcoin treasury companies. So it is interesting that you say that because you're not the only person I've heard say that. And that is something that worries me now too, because we're seeing so many people open up the traditional financial playbook and be like, hey, just give me more money and I'll buy more Bitcoin. But it always seems like, as Notorious B.I.G. always says, more money, more problems, dog. So what is going to be? Are we going to see, like, do you think, in theory, we're going to see maybe an FTX type of explosion, but it's a company that is essentially using debt to buy Bitcoin and they're just going to explode? And maybe that's what keeps these cycles going instead of just the forever Laura where we're going up, you know?
Yeah. No, spoken like a true prophet there, Brandon, you have to say. But yeah, no, it's like I feel pretty confident saying, like, once one blows up, it's like a little bit of a domino effect. I don't know which one it will be or when it will happen. Just from studying public markets for a while, it's like, this is how these things work, But that's also the nature of public markets. It's like, I will never advocate for big government, regulate me harder, daddy.
Yeah.
As a market participant, I knowingly take the risk in allocating my capital to whatever company. And it's up to me as a market participant to do the research and decide if this is a good investment or not. When it comes to blowing up, though, it's like some of them will definitely over leverage. Like, they won't understand Bitcoin cycles, or they won't understand Bitcoin capital markets, or they won't understand public capital markets enough, and it'll be like the convergence of those two that will screw somebody over. And it's like, once one blows up, the next one will blow up, and it'll only be the most well-managed ones that, sustain that fallout.
All right, so now I got to ask you specifically about MSTR, because there's a lot of things that are being built on top of it, right? There's the strike and all that, but a lot of things that's gained a lot of popularity lately is Misty, MSTY. I have a little bit, but I mean, like, let's be realistic. I have like $100 worth, so it's not life-changing. But it's interesting because it's caused a lot of controversy, because it's like derivatives on top of derivatives on top of Bitcoin, which is a lot of volatility, right? So there seems like that could be something that blows up. What's your opinion on it, if you have any? And am I an idiot for holding it?
No, I don't think you're an idiot. I have some clients that are moving, a decent amount of their wealth into, MSTY. I'm like, we're gauging, that asset allocation, respective to their individual financial situation. But
yeah, of course, yeah.
This is something, I talk about, in the book too, where it's like, there's nothing new about this. This is a tried and true financial strategy. It's just now being applied to MSTR, which is kind of like it being applied in proxy to Bitcoin. They're selling call options and collecting the premium and paying out a dividend. Nothing inherently wrong with that. To your point, it is all synthetic, so it's like you got to be cognizant of where the risk comes from. But what we're monitoring, and we've done quite a bit of research into MSTY for our clients, is like, where is the potential risk? Funds that deploy this type of strategy, they attract a lot of capital from having a high dividend payout.
Yeah.
If that dividend payout ever drops, the risk, if you put yourself in like that asset manager's shoes, like their risk then is like, okay, capital is then going to flow out of our fund. So what a lot of the poorly managed funds that have deployed this strategy in the past have done is they pay out that net asset value. So it's like funds that they've raised on top of the options premium. So they try to keep that dividend level up. So,
yeah.
But if they're not good capital allocators and their option premium dividend drop, they'll try to substitute that, with the net asset value. So we're monitoring the net asset value. MSTY is managed by YieldMax. They only do funds
like this.
Yeah. So they have funds on Tesla and Apple, and so you're really putting your confidence in the asset manager's ability to deploy or sell options contract in a strategic way. So what I would recommend for people interested in this is like, well, while this getting's good, maybe you get some, but keep a close eye on the net asset value, because if the net asset value of the fund starts decreasing, that could be a potential telltale sign that the asset management team is maybe not doing a good job with their option strategy.
Yeah, it just seems too good to be true. I mean, they're paying like
it does.
10%,
No, it does. Yeah.
10% dividend. And like for me, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I know a lot of other smart people investing in this. I just dip my toe in a little bit and try to figure out more. So that's why that's where people like yourself come in, Wyatt, where I need to get the financial gurus to come in and explain it to me and tell me why I'm stupid. But it's interesting because the derivatives, and it seems like the option like this is all new to me, right? I'm not an economist or a financial guy, but it seems like because MSTR is pretty volatile and Bitcoin, and it's more volatile than Bitcoin, that this thing can keep going and seem to be okay. But I don't know. So is the volatility, I guess, almost a positive be in this misty sort of aspect?
It certainly can be, because when you sell an options contract, like, you are foregoing future price appreciation on the stock price. And so if you sell an options contract, long dated in the future and it goes up, yeah, you might miss on the capital appreciation, but you're not in that type of investment for the capital appreciation anyway. You're in it for like the dividend income. But if it goes down, you're not necessarily hurt because you've already sold the options premium, you've collected those funds. So generally, people deploying this type of strategy, and it differs via, MSTY solely focused on MSTR, different asset management teams and their way of thinking about it. Volatility isn't necessarily a bad thing for this strategy, because you're just trying to get the options premium, and even if MSTR drops, that options premium cycle resets, and then you sell again technically at a lower strike price than what you did previously. Well, you're still collecting that income. So it's not necessarily like the end of the world if MSTR or Bitcoin have volatility in that type of strategy.
Okay, I got it. All right, well, you've got this great book. You're selling it here at this conference. Tell people where they can find it if they're not here in Vegas hanging out with us, and tell them where they can find out more about you, man, the prophet of traditional finance coming to Bitcoin, Wyatt over here. Where can they find you, boss?
You heard it from the Oracle himself. It's like not my words, but you can find the Bitcoinization of finance on the Brain Store. You can also find me on pretty any social media platform. I'm on Twitter most actively at Wyatt O'Rourke _. You can find me in Denver at the Space. Love chopping it up with new Bitcoiners that are interested in Bitcoin citadels. That's where we met initially, and I'm happy we did.
Yeah, 100%. He's a legend. You guys should follow on, buy his damn book, and do it right now, ASAP. I appreciate you coming on the
you're
show,
the man,
boss,
brother.
and keep it up.
You. Likewise.
All right.
Welcome to the Bitcoin Fit Games, where you get to be part of orange pilling an island and making it a Bitcoin circular economy. It's going to be 3 days full of fun, fitness, and Bitcoin.
And we have people arriving here on Thursday night. There will be a Bitcoin meetup, and all the food and drink is included in your ticket. On Friday, we will get up, and what do we do first thing in the morning on Friday?
We got to work out, fam!
At the beach. Now, this is the beautiful North Beach. There's wide, sandy, long beaches. That means longer running for you, but also a lot of fun.
But relax, it's in October, so you have time to train. So what's included in your ticket? Golf carts as transportation, a catamaran day, where we're gonna go into the ocean and you're gonna explore the Caribbean Sea.
Plus, good Bitcoin conversation. We have the amazing gym. Tell me the name again of your gym.
Point Break Mayaquita. So you're gonna experience your breaking point while you're working out.
We also are here as the Bitcoin community to help ISA orange pill the island. So we're gonna be going around talking to merchants about Bitcoin.
This is amazing. I can't wait. Awesome. See you in BTC Isla.
All right, we are back and live here at the Bitcoin Sports Network kickoff party with the man, the myth, the legend, Ben Justman, behind Peony Lane Wine here. And it is one of the purest wines that we got in the industry. It's Bitcoin wine, so it's the best. What a sip starting it off. So Ben, tell us, man, what was the motivation behind going full on Bitcoin and in wine, man?
Really just following the passions. I mean, kind of threw my life into wine, learning everything from the ground up. And as I was getting that started, 2-year project to even get my first bottles to sell, I started figuring out Bitcoin. And then got on Twitter, and Bitcoiners started asking to buy my wine. And kind of a natural process, it just kind of kept building on itself. And all of a sudden, my whole business was selling wine to Bitcoiners. And it's really just been a following passion, but also just following the money in both education and in sales. Like, Bitcoiners just have become such an awesome part of my business. It makes everything so much more fun for me. And also, like, there's so many Bitcoiners that you can just have a business marketing to Bitcoiners and make a product that they love, they can get into, and they don't have to sacrifice it all to the constraints of the fiat world to get a good product.
Yeah, man, talk about that a little bit more, because I think it's interesting, right? Because everybody's like, oh, business, maybe just marketing to Bitcoiners, it's too niche of an industry. But I actually think that's your superpower, to be honest. Like, I've been at so many different events where they're giving away or selling your wine. And I think that's a testament to you, not only that, but a testament to Bitcoiners just supporting each other as well. So, I mean, do you think you'd be where you're at if you didn't just, go into the Bitcoin space like this? And how much do you think the Bitcoin community has helped you, just take this thing off?
Well, my business would be completely different. I mean, I don't honestly know what I'm doing all that well for online sales, but I just kind of am a Bitcoiner, and Bitcoiners come to me and seek me out.
And so the way I see it for other businesses is Bitcoiners are a relatively small niche. It's not like I'm a one-man show, I make a decent living selling wine, I have room to grow. But if you're a large business trying to, or medium size, let's say, Bitcoiners are still a large enough demographic to capture, and they become your best customers. If you're making a product that you stand behind as like a real solid person that's high quality, and you understand Bitcoin in the sense that you at least are willing to put it out there, I accept Bitcoin and I'm learning about it, and Bitcoin only, Bitcoiners come to you, become your best customers, and you kind of just end up moving that direction. So I don't think like Bitcoiners will necessarily like change your business overnight, but it's a niche that's super powerful and growing, and it's just like, it's relatively low-hanging fruit to just accept Bitcoin, speak to them a little bit, produce a high-quality product, and there's such like high demand, want to be spoken to people that they will make it worth your time.
Yeah, and like obviously that we got Bitcoin for corporations here. That started like 10 months ago, and we had MicroStrategy come on the scene like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. You're a privatized business, so it's a little bit different, but similar, right? How do you think like accepting Bitcoin and maybe even holding Bitcoin on your balance sheet, like you don't have to dive into the full finances or anything, but accepting it in a sense has helped your business just be at places that maybe it wouldn't have got into if you accepted fiat and just fully went just straight into fiat, no Bitcoin whatsoever?
Totally. So as you start accepting Bitcoin as any business, especially a physical goods producer, with fiat, your savings, your production, everything, your money gets debased. And that means your costs constantly go up, your consumers can constantly generally afford less, and your margins constantly getting squeezed. So with Bitcoin, I defend that. I have savings that can last, I can always produce more. I'm not as stuck by the debasement of the fiat world, and therefore I don't have to debase my product. So I can produce a continuously good product and not have to be constantly like, do I cut this corner or not? Because I know the only way I can get paid in Bitcoin is to produce a high quality product, because no one's gonna buy some cheap shit with Bitcoin. You have to produce good product for the best money. And so if I'm like focused on Bitcoiners, trying to get a Bitcoiner to spend Bitcoin, I have to produce a continuously high quality product. They have to continue to trust that. And I know that I will lose my Bitcoin revenue if I cut corners.
Yeah, 100%. And so talk about that. Like the wine industry is an interesting one, right? I mean, they have all these different things to try to get out the filtrates, whatever. Tell us how you differentiate yourself from that now to make that high quality product. Because I know you don't, I mean, the Bitcoiners are all about health, right? So I'm assuming you're not putting any of this bullshit in there, right?
So I don't find many wineries telling their story through a health perspective. And a lot of my wine is, I really learned to appreciate it by going down a health journey myself. So what I realized is I could buy a $100 bottle from California and I would still get a headache. I would still feel gross afterwards. I would still get a nasty hangover. But if I just drank a glass, got a headache, and then switched to my wine, the headache would go away. And I noticed that with myself. And then I started noticing it with a ton of other people. And so I started like diving into that. And what it is I make low intervention wines. So wild fermentation, minimal sulfites, unfined, unfiltered, and no other additives. And when you look into the wine world, it's full of crypto scams, basically.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
full of, there's no wine ingredients list on any label. There's 72 ingredients you can put in a wine bottle and not say anything. Who knows which of those is giving you a headache? It could just be that they're putting preservatives in to cover crappy grapes, and the crappy grapes are what's making you feel bad. So there's all this, it's just a black box, and so many scams, so much classism, that if you can shake your winemaker's hand, get to know them, get to know what they produce in there, or just look for natural, low intervention wine, you feel a lot better. And with Bitcoiners going down the same health journey that I went down, I can really speak to them because I'm one of them.
Yeah. I mean, 100%, and I'm a testament for that, because every time I drink your wine, I'm completely fine. No matter if you guys seen me drink a lot of his wine, you haven't, all right? I wasn't there, but either way, it's delicious, and I absolutely love it. But I always think it's interesting, right? Because I love wine, but going down that journey, Like, what was the motivation to be like, all right, you know what? I want to start my own winery. I want to ferment my own grapes, do all that kind of stuff. What was the motivation behind that? Are you just a sommelier of sorts, or what?
So I grew up on my dad's dream was to grow all his own food, and he planted 4 acres of Pinot Noir grapes, made wine for a little bit. He didn't know what he was doing, but he had a couple of sommeliers tell him that he made really good wine. And so I was kind of going through a quarter-life crisis at 25, knew I wanted to start a business, and the infrastructure for a hobby winery was there. So all I had to do was learn how to make wine, which is easier said than done, but figured it out, kind of just went for it. And now, because I was just starting right when I figured out Bitcoin, I was able to really grow organically just through kind of melding my two passions. And so it's become what it's become because of Bitcoin, and I can't imagine building a winery in the fiat world and sacrificing everything. So.
All right, so what's your goals for Peony Wine in this, or Peony Lane, excuse me, in this next couple years as we're moving through these cycles here with the ups and downs of Bitcoin, the development, all that?
I think it's really, I don't really want to expand. It's not that play. I just want to continue producing small batch, low quality wine, or high quality wine, excuse me, and just have more fun with it. I mean, this is me, this is my passion, and Bitcoiners are really diving in. So it's like, oh, I don't have to restrict myself to the conventional wisdom of wine. I can just have fun and be a Bitcoiner and also have this awesome product and have fun with it. So it's maybe partnering with the different people and just having some fun with the branding is really where I'm at. But the baseline is just keep making good wine and the business will be fine.
There we go. Now, where can somebody go and buy some of this great wine?
Of course.
Because it's outstanding. I mean, if you guys have seen, I'm almost finished with my glasses. They're sitting here, man.
I ship all over the U.S. at peonylanewine.com, Peony. And you can follow me on Twitter, on Noster, on Instagram, at Ben Justman, and at Peony Lane Wine. And I ship all over the U.S.
There we go. Now you guys should go buy yourself some, and cheers, man.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, we are live here at the Bitcoin Sports Network kickoff event here of this great week here in Las Vegas. We've got the brains behind the operation, Frida, here. So Frida, how's the event been going? And then we've also got Elvis here, who's been doing an amazing job. So how's the event going for you? And yeah, how is everything? I know this has been a big plan in the making.
Yes. Well, I always let the people judge, and some people had to go early, and they're like, it's an amazing event. So I think we did well. I think the golfers were very happy with their custom trophies and everything that we've done, and thanks to sponsors like Coin Vigilante and Crypto Cloaks. An amazing job. But the atmosphere here is amazing. I think that is, we really truly wanted to bring Vegas to Vegas. Make sure, people get to know everything. And so we have Elvis in the house.
Shout out Elvis.
Yes. And Elvis actually has been, hanging out with us and partying. He also is an amazing singer because, Elvis is an amazing singer. Elvis actually has a show in Vegas. So I just wanted to pitch that and let him talk a little bit about what he does after this event. So.
All right, Elvis, let's hear it, man. What about this show that you got going on here?
Yeah, man, I've been doing this show here in Vegas for 11 years called All Shook Up, Tribute to the King. I've been very lucky to have a steady show 6 nights a week, sometimes 7, it depends.
Man, the hardest working guy in Vegas out here.
I like to think so, man.
Look at this guy.
People ask me when my night's off. I don't have a night off, man. I'm always taking care of business, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's been a great day with everybody here today. Everybody's been fantastic. They've been very nice, and yeah, it's been a wonderful event. Good job.
Awesome stuff. Well, so tell us, Elvis. I know you're out here in Vegas, but the Bitcoiners, we're a different crowd out here, man. How has it been? Have you gotten any Bitcoin tips? Have you gotten orange pilled just yet?
No, but I'm open to Bitcoin tips. Absolutely.
There we go. So send this man some Bitcoin tips because, and then where can they find your show? How can they find out more? Maybe come and see you.
The show here is in Las Vegas. It runs 7 nights a week. It's called All Shook Up, Tribute to the King. You just look it up on TripAdvisor. You can find us on TicketKite. There's quite a bit of places. Yeah, man. You just type in Google. You type in Elvis Show, and usually our show pops up. And yeah, I mean, it's a fun show. It's a good family show, clean show. So it's 6 o'clock to 7:15, so everybody can go see another show after that or have dinner right after.
There we go. Awesome stuff. So how's your experience been so far with the Bitcoin conference and this event, the crazy 30,000 Bitcoiners that are coming in and flooding in?
I've done a lot of events, and the nice part is everybody's been very nice, very receptive of me walking around taking pictures with them. A lot of times, especially with a lot of guys, like it's kind of rare to get a lot of pictures, but these guys have been really great. They've been very nice. So yeah, they made me feel comfortable, so that's good.
That's awesome stuff. Well, Frida, then how has the golf tournament been? Let's talk a little bit about that. Some of the winners, some of the wrap-up stuff we've had. It's been absolutely electric. So, how have you been enjoying it? Are you happy of the way that things have transpired today?
Absolutely. I think I think our guests decide what's good, what's not, and we've had tremendous feedback today, and it's been a really good time. And I just want to, give a shout out to the next events that are coming up. So we're actually going to be present at the SALT conference with a tournament. You can find all the future event details on our website at Bitcoin Sports Network, bitcoinsports.network. Also want to pitch that we are going to go orange pill with Isa on the island. I know that you had Isa on earlier. Yep. So that's the bitcoinfitgames.com. That's going to be happening in the first weekend of October. And that's not for golfers. That is just for Bitcoiners. So come on out. And then we have Max and Stacy in January next year as well. A lot of things going on.
Man, we got the hardest working guy in Vegas and the hardest working gal in Bitcoin going on right now. So how has this been? I know you guys had the Max and Stacy Invitational earlier this year, and you guys have been launching just companies less than a year old. So how's been the expansion of this and the growth just been?
I think when we founded the company, we were really we want to stay true to Bitcoin. We want to stay true to the Bitcoin community. And so what we try to create is always this unique experience of you feel valued when you come into the rooms. This is a really good Bitcoin crowd. We're not trying to shove things in your face. We'll let you have your time in your mingle time. And we always get really good feedback as to the connections that were made at this event and just the thought that we put into, engaging Bitcoin artists and actually, exposing them on stages and giving them a little bit more of a light. And thank you so much for coming out and doing this for us
course,
today,
yeah.
because you did a tremendous job for us, and thank you so much. Like, we love the partnership.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a blast. I mean, Bitcoin and sports, two of my biggest passions, and then yeah, I mean, it's all coming full circle. I told Elvis earlier I went to school in Memphis, been to his house down out there, so it's awesome coming full circle. And yeah, thank you so much for the event. And everybody, you guys need to follow Bitcoin Sports Network and come out to the next events, no matter where you're at. They've got one for you. And yeah, come golf, come do the Bitcoin Fit Games in Isla Mujeres. I'm excited for what you guys are building, and thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Well, follow all of them, subscribe to all their channels, and thank you guys all for tuning in for a wonderful day today. And we are out.